Good evening, everybody. It's 7:01. I was coming in a little bit hot from a prior engagement representing council somewhere else, so apologies on the minute's delay. Welcome, members, staff, and the members of the gallery as well tonight. I'd just like to start with the statement of acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today as the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Now, I'll just run through roll call. We have an apology from Councillor Vallelonga. We have a leave of absence with Brian Samble. And we also have a current leave of absence for Councillor Koch. And there is no other non-attendance.
Just confirm that Councillor Koch is seeking a leave of absence from there to there.
Oh yes, yep, we will get to the leave of absence in a second. Moving forward, we're just going to motions to grant leave of absence. We have Councillor Koch has submitted, he would like to seek leave. Do I have a mover for that leave? You're happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes? Do I have a seconder? You're happy to second, Councillor Lorna? Any discussion? There be none, I'll put that. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Koch has an extended period of leave. And we also have no non-attendance other than the apology from Councillor Vallelonga. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Brian Samble is also... We need to grant the leave. Okay, sorry, I thought he put that in last month. My apologies. Looking for a mover to grant Councillor Samble. You're happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes. Do I have a seconder? You're happy to second, Councillor Davies. I'm going to put that motion all in favour. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, well, I think that's all our attendance and the like, all sorted. Okay, we'll move on to public open... sorry, excuse me. This is what happens when you roll in at 7:01. Apologies. Councillor Hennessy is asked to give a statement. Do I have leave of the meeting to provide? You have leave. Thank you, Councillor Hennessy.
Thank you, Mayor. There's just two things that I wanted to acknowledge briefly. One of them is that today is the 10th anniversary of the Pinery Fire, a tragic situation which affected many in our community, and I just wanted us to, as a council, to be aware of that and to honour the many people who did a lot of work during that period, including staff members. And the second one is to note the passing of Bob Arns in our community, a very well-known, very well-loved member of the community, both for his community work and for his work with industry. I knew Bob through his work with the Gawler Show, but I'm sure each one of us in many different aspects have bumped into Bob in many of his lovely contributions to our community. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, Councillor Hennessy. Moving on, we have public open forum. Now I have Gary Umaga to start. If you'd like to approach the microphone there. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, I've got some notes here, so I'll just sort of read from some of those notes. So, and good evening, Mayor, councillors, CEO and staff, and thanks for providing me with the opportunity to speak regarding the proposed curbing on 12th Street. As you know, my name's Gary Umaga, and I serve on multiple committees around our town, and tonight I'm going to speak as the chairperson of the National Trust of South Australia Gawler branch. So some of the things I wish to speak about today, and I want to highlight what makes Gawler an exceptional town, with particular focus on its heritage value. Gawler holds the distinction of being the first country town established in mainland South Australia. This historical significance is reflected in its wealth of older homes, infrastructure and properties, all of which contribute to the town's unique character and the town's appeal. It is precisely this heritage that attracts people to live in Gawler and sets us apart from other towns. Our town's heritage is embodied in its built form, which includes not just the buildings and the reserves, but also vital infrastructure such as roadways, curbing and drainage. Within this context, I wish to draw particular attention to the heritage slate curbing. The slate-based curb attached to the side of the road forms gutters for stormwater runoff and serves as a boundary between vehicles and pedestrian footpaths. It is an intrinsic part of Gawler's history and forms a significant aspect of our heritage infrastructure. Preserving and maintaining the heritage slate curbing is essential, as it forms an integral part of what actually sets Gawler apart from other metropolitan areas. The curbing is not merely a functional element, it's woven into the unique fabric of Gawler's character and its identity. The council staff have put forward option 1, the concrete curbing solution. They recommended on the basis that option 1 was going to be more cost effective, integrates efficiently with existing stormwater catchment, offers colour uniformity and enables the project to begin in December this year. However, while this solution may deliver short-term financial and operational benefits, it risks eroding the distinctive character of one of Gawler's principal thoroughfares. For these reasons, I strongly urge Council to retain the heritage slate curbing and vote for option 3. Where replacement is necessary as part of new works, it should be done in kind, ensuring the use of materials and methods that uphold the original appearance and integrity of the curbing. Furthermore, ongoing maintenance is vital to guarantee the longevity and continued contribution of this important heritage feature to the streetscape. And you know, the recent experience with curbing replacement on Jacob Street serves as what I would say a bit of a cautionary tale. Here, the original slate curbing was replaced with concrete, which detracts from the street's historic character and fails to reflect on its traditional style. Conversely, though, the council's efforts on Porter Street, where heritage slate curbing was properly replaced, demonstrates the positive outcomes achievable when heritage features are preserved. This approach should be adopted for 12th Street as well, particularly since it serves as a main thoroughfare for traffic entering and leaving our town. I'm confident that, you know, as councillors, you share a deep affection for Gawler, just like I do and many others do. And by preserving the elements that make our town special and distinct, you are helping to maintain Gawler as a heritage destination for both residents and visitors. Together, we can ensure that Gawler's unique character endures for future generations to appreciate and enjoy. It's only through a shared commitment between council, residents and, you know, the local heritage groups that we can ensure Gawler's unique legacy is protected for future generations. This partnership is essential for maintaining the elements that define our town's identity and foster community pride. I encourage ongoing dialogue and collaboration so that heritage preservation remains at the forefront of council decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary. Now we have Tully Brooks to speak on the 12th Street curbing as well. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors, CEO and staff. I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I'm here at the last minute. I don't have any notes. I'll try and be as coherent as I can. I'd like to share with you first, before I moved to Gawler, about over a decade ago, I was relatively young and I was really intrigued by the history of the town. And I came up here specifically to see it. I caught the train, stopped at Gawler Station, as half the services do. And I remember coming down 12th Street, so that was my first impression of the town. You've got this long boulevard with the back of the Martindale Mansion as the focal point up on the hill there. But I think what I most remember, and I can still see it vividly now, is coming back to catch the train again in the late afternoon, evening sun. You know, the sun shining on the stone walls of the cottages and on that slate curbing. Walking down here from Churchill this evening, I took a look down Jacob Street as I passed the end, and that appeal was notably absent. So it's very important, that curbing. So fast forward a couple of years, I nearly bought a house in that vicinity of 12th Street. I ended up buying a place in Churchill, also has the stone curbing. I think a key difference between Churchill and the 12th Street, this is actually, I suppose, in 12th Street's favour for what we're talking about tonight. The topography, you know, in Churchill you've got this variety of open vistas and things. In 12th Street, it's this long, straight, linear boulevard, and the curbing is literally what frames that view. And if you take that away, as a percentage, it's a really high, you know, part of the importance and the integrity of that historic streetscape. And it's not a grand boulevard. It's not a, you know, manicured lawn down the centre like Osmond Terrace in the city or something, but it's just got this wonderful salt-of-the-earth country character, and that really struck me coming up from the city. It is unique, and it should be valued for what it is. So yeah, I think if the curbing is removed, it really dilutes that character to a large extent, and that's really important also as Gawler continues to be encircled by new development, which of course doesn't have stone curbing, that we retain what we have and retain the identity of these inner areas. So I'd commend the Environment and Heritage Association for all the work that they've done on this and their most generous offer of financial support, and I'd really implore the council to retain the curbing. Just like the walls, you know, the stone walls in Gawler are such a important feature, and there are grants and things for their preservation. You know, as part of the streetscape, the curbing is just as integral a part, and it's obviously a public asset, but that means that the council has the power to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tully. Thank you. I have, I'm so sorry, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Alex. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also thank you for your email. Sorry, I haven't responded just yet.
That's okay. It was late. Look, Mayor, CEO, elected members, I really appreciate the time to talk to you as just a general member of the public tonight. I just want to share that, you know, I've moved to Gawler in 1998. My family, we grew up just out of Port Augusta towards the Flinders, and my dad was a teacher. We moved to Gawler so I could get better education with my brothers and sisters, and we hadn't seen Gawler before. They'd chosen the place, and I didn't understand why, but when we moved here, it's really made sense. Like, there's something quite special about Gawler, from like the fig trees on Julian Terrace, the proximity to the country, the close to the city for convenience, and really importantly, like, the town has something really special. And a lot of that special part of it is the buildings, those small details that we just go past. And what was beautifully spoken just before me was about that sense of place that we always talk about in councils. I work in a council development role in the city as well. It's really hard to define these things, but it's a deep sense of connection that we feel to this town, and it really means a lot to us. So parts of like, with this slate, if it's removed, it's going to be something that will never be replaced. I can't imagine us ever going and allocating this much budget for Mintari slate. It's so expensive. Once it's gone, it's gone. And I just want to come up here and speak to you about the slow erosion of these historical aspects. And I do appreciate the need for our council and our area to change and develop and make it more amenable for future generations, but I feel like you guys actually have the opportunity now to make a bit of a future-proofing this kind of special part of the town. So I'd just like to say that I support the reuse and repair of that original slate down 12th Street, which has been, you know, I've walked down there so many times on the way to the train station as an entrance and a boulevard to Gawler. These things that they just add that little bit of something special to the town. I'd like to see perhaps developing and forming a protection for these stone curb protections. And I really appreciate organisations like GEAR offering that financial support. It just indicates how important this is to just us general members of the public. And I know I speak for myself, and my wife and, like as we've got a family growing now, I understand why my parents chose Gawler. There's something special about the place. Yeah. So, yeah, please would just consider looking after these little heritage characters and, yeah. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have Wayne Lay.
If I could just say, Wayne's around, but he's not here yet, obviously. He's been away in Sydney for several days. His wife's really crook and they've been over there getting medical treatment. So
Okay.
I think he's coming, so you might just...
Well, what we'll do is we'll move Ruth up.
Yeah.
Yep.
and you might have an opportunity for him to say something.
Yep. No, appreciate that. So I'll just call Ruth French then. Thank you. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you. And as I've never addressed council before, I'm not sure of the order of the formalities, but thank you all
It's
for
as
being
formal as you
here and
like.
for what you do. So I purchased a unit on 12th Street in 2015, but this year I've moved into living in that unit myself. And I thought, oh, it'll be fun moving into Gawler. I've lived out at Hillier Park and at Riverdale Spiritual Centre for the best part of 20 years. And I've surprised myself with how much I enjoy being in this town and noting the heritage. I've loved walking around, and the people who've spoken before me, I feel, have offered much more. When Adrian knocked on my door Saturday afternoon, I was delighted to learn a lot about just where I was living and what the discussion would be about tonight. So I would like to add my voice to supporting, if possible, the use of the slate, continuing that. I think it does make a difference. These features that help Gawler use the identity of a heritage town and a quality town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. And for someone who hasn't addressed council before, I think you nailed it. Thank you. So we do have Wayne on there. However, I do note he's not here just yet. What I potentially can do is move to deputations. If Wayne does arrive, I'm happy to go back to public open forum. So that is Mr. Adrian Shackley.
And actually, the delegation's for Gawler Environment Heritage Association, so I'm the representative, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Here we go. Interesting that Gary was up here talking before. Our organisation had its first meeting at the Eagle Foundry in 1980. And the purpose of that meeting was to set up the group in order to purchase the Hemmingby property in King Street, which we duly did and saved it from being demolished. Cost $40,000 in those days. Be a bit more today. Anyway, so I think all the councillors and the staff have seen most of the reports that we've done over the last 9 months, roughly, since it came in February. So, I mean, I have to say I've learnt a lot in doing the research. It's been fascinating. I mean, that story that we put together from articles through Trove in the Bunyip from 60 years or whatever, 70 years or whatever it was just fascinating. And involving all these other councils that are now part of Gawler, but which at the time weren't. So I think we've done a pretty good job getting a history of Gawler South, which obviously was set up, and Gawler West at the time, after 1857 because the railway station coming out there. And in terms of 12th Street, I mean, I've really learned a lot about that street in this process. That panorama that we produced in the report with the pictures of the properties along the street is fabulous. I mean, it's just later on we've met the people, but just the appearance of the buildings, the gardens, the fences, people really love their places along there. They look after them mostly, and it really is a very characteristic sort of heritage character for Gawler. Not grand, but for ordinary people who've built their lives there, it's been fabulous. And the people who are there now, having met them over the weekend, are pretty much the same. Really generous, community-minded people, most of them. So you'll have seen that survey that pretty much I conducted over the last 3 days. And I reckon I got about 90% of people. A couple of people dodged me. They're hiding out the back somewhere. After about 6 goes, I gave up on them. But you can see the results of the people. You know, they had the 3 options set out there, what they cost. I explained that all to them, and, you know, a bit of background if they ask for it. Results: nil favouring option 1, 29 favouring option 2, and 10 favouring option 3. And even more interesting, I thought, was the businesses that I spoke to yesterday. 7 of them I managed to catch up with. 7-0 voting for option 2. And the response was really generous. Yep, you know, we like keeping our heritage. You know, I don't know. I know the manager at Mitre 10, but I didn't know any of the others till I met them. So fascinating. I think the council does need a policy on curbs. We wouldn't have any policies if we just said, well, we've got different views in the community, but you can't decide. We have to decide. It's not necessarily just the issue about what to do with streets down the time. It's how to manage the curbing that's there now and make sure it's looked after. As you would have seen on that panorama of photographs at the end. I mean, one of the issues in the streets is simply stormwater pipes entering through the curb that don't get looked after, don't get put in properly, whatever. So that's, you know, that sort of issue is occurring regularly. You know, people widening their driveways or something and then driving over the curbs. It causes issues. I think it's stated about 5 times in the officer's report that we haven't demonstrated that there's anything different about the curbing in 12th Street compared to the curbing elsewhere in Gawler. Well, to be honest, I think we did. If you have a look at the report on the history of that street, it's not just the curbs, it's the character and the heritage of the street, which the curbs are part of. So if the street's a very important street, then the curbs are very important in that street. I mean, we could have the same curbs on a farm out at Reeves Plains, there'd be no consequence at all. But because they're in a street with that character and all those buildings, that's what they add. And it is exceptional for apart from Church Hill, that street has it. You know, there isn't any other entranceway into Gawler that's got that sort of character. And because it's an angled street, it also has these vistas at the end, both ends. You know, with straight streets you don't get that, but because it's at an angle, both ends, you get these different heritage sort of vistas, which is great. But the other thing that is special about the curbing in 12th Street is, especially on the southern side, it is almost continuous. There's a 120-metre stretch on the south side of 12th Street that does not have any entry points at all. It is continuous curb. And then that's followed up by, that's between sort of roughly 11th Street and 13th Street. Between 13th Street and the laneway, you've got 40 metres that's continuous, no entry points. And then you've got 2 more places, 47 metres and 67 metres, with 1 entry point in the whole place. And the reason is because of the laneways in that area, because all the access for vehicles is at the rear. So this, I mean, you won't find anywhere else, I don't think, in South Australia that can match that. It just doesn't exist. It's because of this setup of the laneways with rear access that the curb is almost continuous on that southern side. And I have to say, when the council officers write up their report saying there's a concrete crossover every 10 or 15 metres, well, they need to open their eyes. So, yeah, that is just on its own so important that you can see that. And the slate curbing is rather spectacular in its own right. I mean, no doubt it's Mintero slate. You get these massive long sections, up to 4.2 metres, I think is the longest, that just stand out. And they're different to the bluestone that's quarried that ends up being a bit rough and around the edges, and the slate is just straight, and that's why even some of the slate that's a bit damaged on top will be reusable because it'll be flat on the bottom and will just get turned over and reused. Yep, I think when these issues get dealt with, there really should be some input from our heritage advisor. It's pretty important. Just commenting on the tenders that have come in, it's interesting that the cost of all the works that don't involve the slate went up 40% compared to the February estimate, and the cost of putting in the slate went down 15% based on the tenders. So I have to say I'm not overly trusting in the tendering process, but anyway, that was interesting. So with the extra cost of, basically I think our organisation's supporting option 2. We're happy with option 3 if you want to put up the money, but it seems unlikely at this stage. But the difference at the moment is 177,000, and that's based on 660 metres of slate reinstated. Well, there's actually 695 out there at the moment, so there's a bit of discrepancy there that might either save some money or cause some issues, I don't know. So our organisation originally said we'd put up 13,200 for $20 a metre for wherever the curbing goes. If it's 660, that's 13,200. Go right to the end, it's 21. But we also said that 7,700, if the council goes for option 2, could be spent on both interpretation relating to the area, Gawler South Council, etc., and curbing. And we didn't specify any split up. So there was a misinterpretation of that in the council report, because it sort of says, well, we've got 7,700 for interpretation, none. So it doesn't matter. So we had a meeting last night and we changed the option. So we said, the 7,000, partly because it's sort of obvious that actually to put in some interpretation requires a fair bit more work. It's not something that's going to happen even in the next 6 months, probably. It might. That's conceivable to get organised in that time, but it really is a separate project. So we said, okay, use the 7,700 only for curbing, providing that it sorts out properly the curbing around the old Gawler South Council building. There's about a 5 metre section there that's missing between the end of the current slate curb and the concrete ramp that heads straight out in front of that building. So it should cover that. I don't know whether that's covered already. So that that potentially brings down the net price around 155,000, and it might come down a bit more if this issue about what's getting done and what's not getting done. It's a bit, I don't know, I haven't seen the specs, so if there's new water table entries and whatever, that might change. So I reckon it's around 150. So we know council's been trying to control your spending. I appreciate that, and generally we support it. You need to be viable to be able to support these sort of projects when they come up. You don't want to be on the edge of your finances when you need things. But I don't think 150,000 in a budget of 41 million is going to shift anything much. So, looking at that survey, which I only sent in today, but it was only done on the weekend and yesterday, so it's a bit fresh. But I did report.
Just noting you're on about 10 minutes here, Adrian. If we could just wrap up.
One
A very important topic, I understand. That's why I've given it a little bit of leniency there.
I think the one comment, well, 2 comments stood out, I suppose. One was, yep, we're really pleased the roads are going to get fixed. Point 1. Point 2, we really want the council to help. If we look after our places and gardens and whatever, then what's the council doing to help? It looks like it's dropping the baton, and we want effectively saying, well, we want the council to pick up the baton and go with, something like maintaining at least the existing curbing. So I think that's, but I was just blown away by the people there. They were just very concerned, community-minded people. And no one was shouting, no one was getting upset, but they really did, want to be listened to and had an interesting point of view. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, and also apologies I haven't responded to your email either. It is on the list that I need to get back to, and thank you very much for the work you've done.
I don't know, anyone got any questions? I'm happy to have a crack. But...
Do I have any questions for Mr. Shackley? Oh, no, not at all. No, all good. Well, thank you very much for your presentation and again, the work that you've put in behind the scenes. So I'll just move through the agenda. We don't have Wayne here, so I'm unfortunately going to have to carry on.
Mayor, can we just note that Wayne did come to speak to us in February, and he is a resident of 12th Street as well, so maybe we should acknowledge that.
Would you? Yep, okay, thank you very much for those words, and thank you, Wayne, for presenting previously. I think I recall the presentation. We have adjourned items. We have nil. Petitions, we have nil. I am now looking for a mover for the confirmation of minutes for the October 28th council meeting. Do I have a mover? You're happy to move that way, Deputy Mayor. Do I have a seconder? You're happy to second, Councillor Hennessy. Any discussion? There be none. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes is nil. Okay. So, we are now moving forward to our first item, 12th Street, item 9.1. Councillor Hughes, do you have some questions before we move? Because I'll probably take questions before I move.
It's just about the deputation, whether we're formally going to accept the deputation and maybe add it to the minutes, because it is quite an in-depth report with all the photographs. There we are.
Yeah, so we've got the report all in the attachments.
Yep,
Are
okay.
you...
Just the recent one with the survey.
Can I make a recommendation for any mover, if they see the merit in this, which I understand, they can probably just add a point in that they thank the deputation tonight on whatever version might come up. Does that satisfy you, Councillor Hughes? You've got a question?
Yeah, no, I think perhaps if we move a motion that we table the survey and other documentation that came through late this afternoon, that might be the way to get round it, perhaps.
Yeah, look, I'm in your hands.
Okay, well,
I will just, before we move to a mover, is there any questions prior, and then we can move into is there any questions? Deputy Mayor, you had some questions?
Thanks, Mayor. I do have 3 questions.
Yep.
First of all, regarding the Main North Road Williston detailed design works and the Williston stormwater drainage projects, I understand the delivery of these projects is forecast for between 2030-31 and 2033-34 in our long-term financial plan. If that's the case, and if it's the case that this will not impact, deferring them will not impact on the final project delivery, why was it included in this financial year's budget, and can these projects not be grouped together?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mr. CEO?
That's a fair question. I think at the time it was put into the budget, we were trying to think ahead to elections, state elections, and the federal election particularly, and we thought there might be an opportunity if we had a shovel-ready project. Now, as those processes went along, it became abundantly clear that, because ostensibly this is a lot of pipe work, it became abundantly clear that this type of project wasn't going to be on the radar of our state and federal parliamentarians. So as we moved forward, it didn't have the same level of urgency for the delivery of those plans. So there I'm quite happy with the comment from the team that given where it sits within a long-term financial plan, that there should be no detriment to deferring, for example, to whether it's next financial year for the design work.
So just on the other part of that question, it was talked about the merging of the 2 projects. So moving forward, is there scope to actually combine the 2 for one design cost?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I missed the second, and Deputy Mayor, I missed that. You're absolutely right. Ostensibly, they are a combined project, and they will be combined. Yep.
Does that answer your question, Deputy Mayor? Yes? You had a second question? Yeah.
I did, thanks. A question through the chair. What's the effect of if we did increase borrowings to maintain the capital works projects of the car park lighting at Reed Street and the Para Road Emu crossing on this year's budget, in regards to the delivery and also our financial position?
Mr. Sear?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If we look at the value of those, it's $90,000, but I probably want to have regard for the comment, particularly on the car park lighting. Since the budget was put in place, it seems that once the site's been investigated in more detail, there might be alternative ways we need to deliver that project, or it may require more funds. But in short, to answer your question, if we left it in, it'd be $90,000. So the annualised effect of that, so it's over a 10-year period. It's $9,000 of capital repaid every year, plus some interest with that. So if we say in round terms, call it $10,000 per year for the next 10 years, if we were to put that into borrowings.
Does that answer your question? Sorry to hijack, and sorry, Mr. CEO, to put you in the hot seat here. But just in regards to the lighting then, in the future, does that investigation happen before the budget bid actually makes it to this chamber to maybe avoid this in the future?
I think that's a fair statement, Mr Mayor.
Okay.
That, my learning from this is that some more due diligence needs to be undertaken. So this site, we should have been able to establish whether the power was available. So I will take that as a learning opportunity and make sure that when these budget bids come forward again, that we have ascertained those basic details.
Thank you very much. I might just go to Councillor Davies, if I can come back to you. I just cautious of sharing the love a little bit. Councillor Davies?
Yeah, so just, I guess, a question for the CEO generally around these deferred projects. Would it be correct to say that putting aside the rest of this motion, some of these discussions weren't happening around deferring them regardless of the shortfall? Like, is this, because it makes it, the motion comes across as we're doing this because of this, but it sounds like there are just issues with some of those regardless.
I would say it's not, that doesn't hold for all of them, but certainly some of the projects, yes, you are correct. And I'll use the car park lighting as a particular example. Yes, as we got deeper into the project, things have come to light where it may have caused the deferral. So it may have been that 50% might have fallen under that banner.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Davies? Do I have any other questions before I go back to Deputy Mayor? Councillor Solomon?
Just through you, Mayor, in February we had, there were some concerns presented to us in regard to delaying the project into a new financial year, which would blow out the cost of the project. I know we've now got a $415,000 increase on the initial cost, which we're looking to find money for. I'm just wondering what has contributed to the majority of that new cost of the $415,000.
Mr. CEO?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's like a lot of projects, until you actually go to market and get the relevant contractors to put pen to paper and give you a price, you are making educated assumptions. Now, with the at least 12 months odd delay between when we first started talking about this project to when we went out to tender, there has been, I think you could say, some escalation factor within the construction industry. But for me, it's simply the difference between educated assumptions that underpinned our original estimates to when you ask a contractor to effectively hold fast to a particular number. Yeah.
Do you have a follow-up there?
Yeah, thank you, CEO. As a follow-up to that, I guess that at the time when it was presented to us in February, the opportunity to deliver it within that financial year was there was quite a narrow space of time in which to deliver that. I'm just wondering what has changed between delivering it then and having the fully costed gone to market figures, and now being able to have those in advance of doing the project.
Sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
I'm saying at the time when we had looked at this in February, there was a very narrow window in which to deliver on it in that budget cycle and to adhere to the requirements that DIT had put on us. Would it have been possible to get the costed figures and deliver that project in that time frame, given everything else that was going on, or was the delay inevitable?
I'm just trying to turn my mind back to what was going on at the time. From memory, the delays were around the uncertainty about the approach that we wanted to take, and council was pretty clear they would prefer to have a bluestone policy, curb and gutter policy in place, and that, to be honest, that was the correct approach at the time. So we certainly lost a bit of time there. I think what has happened though, we gained greater certainty from the Department of Infrastructure and Transport about their funding and whether it was at risk, and we understood that we did have some further time up our sleeve to play with. Now they've confirmed now that we've probably used up any grace we may have had there, and we do need to push on and deliver this project, whichever way we end up delivering it, but we do need to push on and deliver it now. But unfortunately, I think the escalation is partly because the inflation factors in the construction industry are far outstripping general inflation. And I think now's the time for us to try and deliver this project.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Solomon?
Yeah, I'll just preface by saying it was a hard question to answer, and I do appreciate that answer. I think that answered exactly what I wanted it to.
Yeah, and we are, in construction as well, we are seeing inflation of cost, and technically we are seeing contractors that keeping their quotes for 30 days is pretty much the norm at the moment. So until you lock them in at that fixed price. That said, that does come as a little bit of a double-edged sword when we are budgeting line items and the like, and I think overall we maybe could tweak process and have ranges potentially, but that's probably a discussion for our budget deliberations that we'll kick off once again. I have the Deputy Mayor. Do I have any other questions? Otherwise I might go back to the Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor. Final question through the chair is, what can local residents expect the impact to be of cutting the Whittaker Street curb and gutter design works on the upgrade of that street?
Just the bottom one on the table. Just here. 25 grand. Oh, you dropped off one.
I might refer that one to David actually, so we get a more accurate answer. Thank you.
So through the chair, essentially it just delays the project by 12 months. So the intention was to do the design this financial year and delivery in 6-7. What we were going to do by deferring this is essentially do the design in 26-27 and deliver the following year. So it delays it by 12 months. That's the impact of those residents.
Sorry, just hijacking the question again. Sorry, Deputy Mayor. This is one street out of a bunch of design work that we are looking, and obviously council, the staff have assessed and said, you know what, this street is probably the low-lying fruit here. Am I right in saying that we are probably now going to see that pop back up through our budget process and the design grouping? Because the one thing I do like about the mentality is you're getting a bunch of similar design work all at once. But I'm also taking Councillor Solomon's point that you chuck another 12 months on a design phase, your budget's probably going to be a little inaccurate because you're going to be planning for 2 years out, and we couldn't quite nail the 12 months. So I was just about that.
So through the chair, there's two reasons. One, around this design being deferred. One, it was an easy one to defer at the timing, and it wasn't the highest priority out of those capital design projects for delivery in the new financial year. The other point is that it's curb and gutter related. So what it does is defers a like-for-like asset class renewal. So you're deferring renewal design for curb and gutter by delivering curb and gutter renewal in 12th Street. So it actually maintains our asset management strategy in terms of delivering the volume of asset works for transport assets related to curb and gutter renewal within the one financial year by deferring that one. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. I think it does. Does that answer your question, Deputy Mayor? Yep. All right, do I have any other questions? So I might look for a mover if I don't. Thank you very much for your questions. All right, I'm going to look for a mover. I have an officer's recommendation here. And if I don't have a mover, I guess we'll seek an alternative. You're happy to move? You're happy to move the officer's recommendation? Would you like to speak to it? Yep. Councillor Lorna has moved.
Right, thank you very much, and for everyone that's put all the work and effort into this. To me, this decision goes far beyond curbs. It's about leadership and striking the right balance between heritage and progress for Gawler's future. Most of us understand that heritage is an important part of Gawler's identity. It reflects our history, our character and the efforts of past generations. Protecting heritage is something that we take seriously because it connects our community to the roots and preserves what is truly significant. But let's be clear, not everything old is heritage, and not all heritage can or should be saved. Our responsibility is to make a balanced decision that respects genuine heritage value while meeting the practical needs for today and tomorrow. 12th Street is a critical road in poor condition. This project addresses safety, stormwater management and infrastructure standards. Concrete curbing, unfortunately, is the most practical, cost-effective and timely solution. Retains stone curbing across the street is neither financially viable nor justified by the demonstrated heritage significance. Where stone can be salvaged and reused in areas of high heritage value, such as the Churchill Estate heritage area, which should do so. This ensures the heritage is preserved where it matters most, without compromising essential upgrades. Approving this motion is about striking the right balance, respecting our history while delivering modern infrastructure for the community. It is a responsible decision that prioritises safety, functionality and financial accountability. Leadership means making tough calls for the greater good, and this is one of those calls. We're choosing progress with respect to heritage and for the right decision for Gawler. I sat here back on the last budget deliberation saying that I was going to make a change or take all the financial decisions very seriously, and I'm sitting here today saying this is one that we need to do moving forwards. So I urge you to support this motion and move Gawler forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lorna. Do I have a seconder? The motion will lapse without a seconder. You got a question, Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Matt. Can I move an amendment to a motion that hasn't been seconded?
I think we need a seconder before we can accept an amendment, Deputy Mayor. Apologies. A member can seek leave of the meeting to speak. I don't need a seconder, I'm assuming.
On a point of order, then I believe can another member not seek the mover to change their motion and then seek leave of the meeting to have the motion adopted? Because I think it would put us in a very precarious situation if we had to go back and forth multiple times.
Sorry, just taking some advice. Okay, so we have some advice. Bear with us. If the Deputy Mayor would like to offer up an alternative or variation and the mover's happy to accept it, we then have a motion that potentially could call a seconder. If that doesn't net a successful outcome, we will lapse for the want of a seconder, and then we'll be looking for an alternative, or we're in your hands. Does that make sense? Would you like to test out your variations, be very specific if you can?
The variation I would like to make, Mayor, is that specifically around point 7 and 8, and I would be looking at approving the deferral of A and B, but removing C, D and E, and instead those 3 capital works projects would be funded by increasing our borrowings.
And everything else?
I think that point 8 will need a little bit of tidying up.
Yep.
But basically increasing our debt level to 115,000 so that we can fund through borrowings the road safety improvements, the car park lighting upgrade and the Whittaker Street curb and gutter. And then everything else remaining the same. That would be the amendment, the variation I'm proposing.
Yep. Mover? Nope.
Nope.
No, that's fair enough. Okay, I reckon, thank you for the attempt, I think we might lapse for the want of a seconder. Councillor Hennessy?
I'd like to move an alternative, please, and I sent through the details earlier.
You did. I'm so sorry I haven't had a chance to
Sorry,
see
but before I do that, can I move at this point the motion that we accept the information that came in from GIHA this afternoon, that be added to the minutes of this meeting, please?
no, this is just a point 9. So that
I don't care how we do it, I just need
Or,
it.
and are
Point
we-
9, easy, that's easy.
And if I can I get Councillor Hennessy's version just put up on the screen?
Now, I'm in proposing this alternative motion. Basically, it differs greatly to the first one. However, in terms of hearing the concern tonight about the budgeting, I'm quite happy to take advice or suggestions about how we do that, Deputy Mayor. I, like you, have some concern that 5 capital projects which went through the budget process, went out to community consultation, were approved thereby for the community and us, are suddenly, without very little discussion, off the plate. Now, I know, and I've read through the report, that some of those are about timing and whatever, but I think that that's not the way that we should communicate. You know, we without some form of consultation with those community groups. Some of this is very important, and those parts of council, those parts of the community will be quite annoyed that their particular projects are getting bumped. I think there may be good reasons, but I think we need to be much better at communicating with our community about that. So, my recommendation, just bear with me while I pull it up. I guess I preface it by saying that I am disappointed that the last 11 months have gone by and we haven't got a policy. So one of the points says that we would like a policy. We understand because of timing that we need to defer the creation of a policy, but I would like to see that come back. So that's point 2. And that, 2 and 3. And certainly that the heritage value of our curbing will be considered, together with other factors, including financial implications, of how we not only replace, but also, as one of our speakers said tonight, manage these important parts of our heritage. My first point actually goes way back and says that we acknowledge that part of our community plan is to ensure that we do have a uniquely identifiable township, and that we will encourage the conservation and promotion of Gawler's significant heritage and unique architecture. If we say that we will only do that to the state heritage listed area, we will have Church Hill and a couple of other places which have got state heritage listing sitting marooned in a very modern, updated town. And that's not, I'm sure that's quite not what we are intending to do. We want to try and hang on to as much of our heritage as we can, and sometimes that means we can't take the cheapest option. But given the hard work that we've heard both from the speakers tonight and the members of GIHO who've gone out and done an incredible amount of research, the people on 12th Street, including 5 or 6 businesses, want to do this, want to see it retained. And interesting, one of those businesses, of course, is the Bunyip. So they have deliberately purchased in that area, located there, because of the look and the feel of that town. And as we've said 11 months ago, it's not just the buildings that makes up a heritage landscape, and I'm sure Andrew would agree. There's lots of factors, and slate curbing just is one of them. So Section 4 means that we can go ahead and award the tender, but we're looking for option 2. Section 5 is the same. It authorises the Chief Officer to execute all the necessary documentation to give to the contract. And then, of course, I'm open to any changes suggested about the funding arrangements. Basically, what I'm saying is, slate, we want to allow this project to go ahead with option 2, which is a compromise, but a reasonable compromise. Let's get on and spend the money and get the project done so that we meet our agreement with debt within this financial year, of which we've still got 7 months left. And then also, please come back to us with a policy. We don't want to go through this process every single time we're upgrading one of the many roads in this town. And there are other slate curbing around the town. So I don't want to keep repeating 11 months worth of work. Come back with us with a policy. And I haven't nominated when, I've just said a future council meeting, realising that we're going into the Christmas period. So on that, I'd like to move that motion. Deputy Mayor, if you would like to make your changes, I'm happy. Or if the other alternative would be to take 6 to 8 out and deal with the funding of this in a separate discussion, I think. Allowing this to move forward, I'm getting nods around the table. So, given the nods, I therefore would please ask that we take from 6 to 8 out, and I would be in the hands of the CEO for some wording that then would mean that the funding arrangement has further discussion and comes back to council.
So Councillor Hennessy has just requested that our motion be split to ultimately 2 motions. Can I get some advice on what that looks like?
Through Mr. Mayor, my initial thoughts are, I think it would be best to leave here with certainty tonight on how we're going to fund this. I'm just conscious, technically, I guess I don't have a funding source because the current budget I have to allocate is 993,000, and I need a funding allocation. It would be prudent if Council could determine how you wish to fund this evening.
On that, are you able just to give us a little bit of a quick understanding of our funding options we have? Yep. Obviously, we can potentially go back and try to cut current operating, or you could increase your borrowings by the amount. Can you weigh up both of those?
Yes, certainly. So the option as presented here in Councillor Henley's motion is that we, putting aside the commentary from Deputy Mayor, is that we fund the shortfall of $150,000 from the recurrent budget. Now that's operating. I have concerns about that approach because we've worked very hard to get a surplus budget this year, first surplus budget in a long time. My advice around that would be to make that a borrowings, because this is a long-lived asset and it's entirely appropriate to fund long-lived assets from borrowings. That would be my ask of the council. Then shifting across to Deputy Mayor's thoughts, if there were some projects that you didn't deem appropriate to pull out of the budget, we would just need to determine which projects you wish to remain in. And in the similar vein, I would encourage council to, rather than fund it from operating, because we're trying to maintain a surplus position, I would encourage you to to include them in that borrowing figure. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Does that sort of answer the queries? And just, I guess, a little bit of a reminder just in regards to the capital, and I'm not telling any members anything we don't already know, but that getting into the position where our borrowings are used for the CapEx, I think was a really strong strategy that we agreed to previously, which is why I think the CEO is maybe recommending it, but we're completely in your hands naturally. Councillor Hennessy, did you have a question or you'd like?
Suggestion.
A suggestion? Yeah, I'm
Suggestion,
more than happy.
perhaps, as to the way forward. I'm just checking with Councillor Hennessy and the CEO on this one. In terms of the projects which are coming out to fund the shortfall, if we deal with that first as a first item and then move to a second item, which is Councillor Hennessy's item about the street with certainty around how the funding is coming, is that a way forward which makes sense?
Through
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'm very comfortable in breaking it up into bite-sized chunks. My advice to you is I want to deal with it tonight.
Yes, and it would be, I absolutely would be prudent to deal with the funding question first, so that we have certainty what we're going into in terms of the Short Street upgrade.
But I think the problem you're going to have is the funding agreement for which option?
Well, I think, personally, if there is a shortfall, and the shortfall component of Councillor Hennessy's motion should be dealt with as part of the second motion, but in terms of meeting the shortfall for the project as a base starting point of the 415,000 shortfall should be addressed prior to moving into the motion, and then any surplus can be addressed as part of the second motion. Does that make sense?
Councillor Solomon, I can understand your logic, and I don't tend to disagree. Yeah, there's a shortfall in this project regardless, as Councillor Solomon pointed out. Is there a conversation to be had on how you would like to advance on funding the shortfall in a debate? And then is there the option of what that shortfall is then looking like moving forward? I am in your hands. I will go to the CEO for some governance advice on how we would even do that, though.
I'm going to say some things now without thinking terribly deeply about them, but I think you need to resolve the position of which way you're going to handle the project first. Because until you understand that that's how you're going to, which project you're going to do, you can't tackle the secondary piece. Yeah, that's particularly, I think it's prudent. Can I make a suggestion, Mr Mayor? Yes. I think it might be worth suspending standing orders.
Okay.
So that we can have perhaps a little open dialogue. Yep. Then we can have some back and forth, and then I think possibly arrive at a position that might be able to deal with this with one go.
Yeah, I am actually going to take that advice, and apologies, I probably should have thought of that earlier. So I'm going to move to suspend meeting procedures so we can continue the conversation. Do I need a mover on that, Susie? It's 2/3. So I'm going to move to suspend meeting procedures. Do I have 2/3? That is carried unanimously. Okay, so just as a recap, and apologies to the members of the gallery and those tuning in, bear with us. It's a very important topic. So, Councillor Solomon, you were pointing out the fact that the project is going to have a shortfall anyway of around the $400,000 mark as outlined in our table. Your suggestion was maybe we should talk that one through, because regardless of the outcome, we're upgrading the curb and gutter regardless. Then we will have to invite a variation should we not upgrade it with the option that has been recommended. Mr CEO, you were a little bit apprehensive on us taking that path because we haven't defined the option. I do note we didn't get option one with a seconder, so it seems like we might have something else.
Through Mr Mayor, if I can just clarify my thoughts. Yep, I'm quite clear that we're effectively discussing option two. What I'm trying to achieve is an all-encompassing motion so that when people are voting on this motion, they're understanding the consequence and it's all contained. It's probably not fair to split this and ask people to vote on option 2 without understanding how we're looking to fund it.
And am I right in saying, Mr CEO, that probably came from the questions from our Deputy Mayor talking about the actual projects that are essentially being put below the line to fund the shortfall more generally?
Yeah.
Plus, there has been, as we've heard from some of the speakers tonight, some lack of clarity about costs. Variations, lengths of curbing, whatever. I actually don't feel that we're really still, and that was my suggestion, that we asked for the funding to come back. I take the CEO's point. I'm happy to work on that. But I was wondering whether we can get some more details while we can't see the tender as such. What is it that we're being quoted for, exactly, under a variation that allows us to do option 2?
Mr. CEO? Or
what has been quoted is, for option 2, is concrete curb and gutter for, what is it? Yes, you're talking about the lengths? Yeah. Approximately 500 metres of concrete curb and channel to replace existing concrete curb and channel. And there is, I'll say, approximately 600 metres, 660, thank you, David, of existing slate that will be removed, and there will be a concrete channel, and the back wall of that will be slate.
Okay, well, will we be able to cope? There was a request that the area around the Gawler South Council Chamber, that be included in some way because of its relevance into this. Are we going to be able to do a variation to meet that request?
I've got no issues with me working around the edges with the contractor. We don't need to be minutely definitive this evening. I have a certain amount of flex in the award and the contract, so I'm comfortable that I can work with the contractor to achieve whatever outcome we decide tonight. Yep.
Okay, on that basis, I'm actually quite comfortable in moving it from savings into lending, as you said, and the Mayor reiterated. It's an asset, it's a major asset, long-term case, but I would support the Deputy Mayors about those last three points, is that what it? So the Para Road, Emu Crossing, the Reed Street car park and the Whitaker Street curb, is that what you were looking for?
So just while we're, was I supposed to give a time when we would, no, that's okay. Cool. I just had a question around those projects. When we talk about the Emu Crossing in front of Xavier there, it's come back with oh no, that's not viable because we're too close to the car park. But similar sort of sentiment to before, how did it become a line item? And full disclosure, I've got a conflict here. My daughter goes to this school, has a lot of, but on a technical level, I was just wondering how this made it forward because it didn't look like an Emu Crossing that potentially could make it, or is there another, just a little bit of clarity around that, if I could.
So through the chair, I'll be perfectly honest, it wasn't designed when the bid went in.
Okay.
And that's a learning, as the CEO's mentioned before. And when our senior traffic engineer looked at the site and looked at the location proposed, it just doesn't work from a traffic management perspective. Putting it where it was proposed to go would block the left turn entry into the car park for their kiss and drop zone, creating a break and a natural issue of cars trying to access that car park and being blocked by a Emu Crossing, and on the other side of the road there's a driveway for a resident that's very close, which would have issues as well. So that one there is actually one through our investigations that we've undertaken in the preliminary of design. We were going to be looking at presenting back to council as a no-go unless you moved it miles up the road, which would defeat the purpose, so to speak. There is also a safe crossing about 50 metres the other way on Para Road itself, rather than around the corner of Powerade. It's the same road, but just around the corner. And similarly with the car park lighting, as the CEO mentioned before, there's a lot of problems with that car park lighting to achieve that budget outcome of $40,000. We're probably not going to be able to make it, so we're going to be coming back with a recasted budget.
Because I'm just trying to get it clear for members, the material effects of keeping projects in that are recommended to drop out, and or what it looks like if we do keep them in. Because what I'm sort of hearing is potentially by keeping them in, we'll see a further report that actually ultimately tries to drop them out because the line items actually don't support the projects that were hopefully going to be undertaken realistically. Just to be clear, that's just the conversation we're having now. Is that a fair statement? Councillor Solomon, you had a point to make.
I'm just going to give an opinion holistically about this. I think that I think what Councillor Hennessy is seeking to do there in terms of using borrowings to fund any shortfall if we did go with option B is entirely appropriate. To be honest, I wouldn't be prescriptive at all in the sense that I would want to empower the CEO to do what he wants to do, but that is the CEO's call. I'm in the CEO's hands of what he's comfortable with doing there. And with these projects, I made reference back in February, and I understand where Deputy Mayor's coming from. However, the projects that I have in front of me, I see as examples of things that will probably come back to the Chamber as savings in a budget report because they're unable to be delivered this financial year. But what we've done is increased our debt borrowing, and on top of that, we've got interest which we're paying down on our debt. So I think that the way that this has been gone about is actually quite comprehensive, and I'm comfortable with the reasons that have been given with the deferrals here, and I understand the logic behind why these are the projects. We can't have our cake and eat it too, but the CEO's got us pretty close to that, I think, with some of these. So I'm personally comfortable with keeping these in funding the $415,000 shortfall that we see from having any of the options which are presented to us. And then I see it appropriate to allow the CEO to fund any surplus if we do go with an option which is above the $415,000 in a way that the CEO sees fit and consistent with Town of Gawler's financing and procurement policies.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. David Barrett, you had something to add on meeting
Through the Chair, just to clarify, Councillor Solomon, on the screen, A, B and E are projects that we can deliver this financial year. So they were never going to be up for non-delivery apart from this project and the shortfall. So we are ready to award the design projects for Main North Road Willaston and the Willaston Stormwater Drainage. We are also ready to award the capital work design program for Whittaker Street. The only two that we're going to come back as a cancellation or dropping out of the budget in a budget process would have been C and D. The opportunity presents that we can defer those works. We still have to do them. All we're going to be doing is pushing those works to a new financial year. So we are still going to do A, B and E. We are unlikely to do C and D as they stand. We need to do D, but as a different budget. So I wanted to just really clarify.
Either way, look, and thank you, Dave, for the clarification. Either way, I think they can be deferred. That's not in doubt. However, I don't mean to cast judgment, but we could have also done 12th Street last year, and that was looking precarious as well. There's a couple of other things we talked about, bottlenecking of projects. I am not at a comfort level where I can say these are definitely going to go ahead if we add them to the debt this year. That being said, I understand there is a full intention to do them. We can be as ready as we want, though I'm sure that there are other things that we can focus staff energy on, which will be of just as much benefit if these don't go ahead.
And I think the CEO did answer those to the Willaston specifically around potential for alignment with federal election and maybe even state election. I think as we're coming through those cycles, we are actually acknowledging, look, the likelihood of us being able to bring that project forward in our long-term financial plan is linked really to election promises, and we can't seem to secure some of those election promises, more or less, on those specific projects. Don't get us wrong, we thank our state government partners for some of their other election promises that have helped us deliver a wide range of all sorts, but these two started maybe becoming a little less gainable. I do like the point to be able to revisit this as a totality design linked together and maybe looking at the $300,000, I don't know, but I think if we're designing something for a project that we're not going to deliver for another potentially 8 years, I could see ourselves, redesign in 5 years potentially too. Mr. CEO?
I just want to revisit the Deputy Mayor's queries about C, D and E. I'm just trying to help us get to a bit of a position. If we accept that C and D is probably a good reason why they're proposed to come out, and E, I'm assuming we could do E, David? Yep. If E was to go back in, yep.
Deputy, would you like to respond? No meeting procedures at the moment. Jump in.
Yeah, I'll avoid getting into a debate just yet. But I think if, with that explanation, if whatever hopefully gets passed tonight included that the Whittaker Street works could be funded, I would be more comfortable with that. Seeing that A to D, we've got explanations on why that wouldn't be funded this year.
Okay. So with the comfort there, I think we now have a position from the mover that would probably be happy to increase borrowings. I mean, we're never happy about spending more money, naturally, but, we spend smart money, hopefully. So increasing borrowings rather than trying to go out and find operational savings within the current budget. And dropping point E, which is the Y. So, yeah, the Whittaker, the 25,000. Okay.
You may wish to take out the figure there of 150,000. I think was.
Oh, yes.
I think that's probably now spurious.
Yep, the shortfall. Yeah, so this is probably where we put in the borrowings point there, Mr. CEO. The wordsmithing happening behind the scenes. So we just have a little bit of rework in the wording happening for those that are tuning in, and apologies, thank you for bearing with us, gallery members. Just let the minute taker. Once the minute taker is happy, are you able just to scroll to the changes? Yep. Yep. And we also don't have it carried unanimously just yet. I don't think we can be accused of not giving this one any thought. Okay. Mr. CEO, all right, what we'll do, Councillor Hennessy, is now we'll run through the motion as changed and we'll go point by point, just so you're comfortable. Yeah, just so we're comfortable with the wording. It's your motion. So, I will, resume meeting procedures. Thank you, Susie, for reading my mind. Okay, this one I will read out. So point 1 acknowledges that the first pillar of its community plan is to ensure a uniquely identifiable township, which will be achieved by the following action: to encourage the conservation and promotion of Gawler's significant heritage and unique architecture. I think that one's good. Thumbs up there from Councillor Hennessy. Point 2, given the funding timelines of this project, revokes resolution 2025-02-COU015 to enable the 12th Street curb gutter renewal and stormwater upgrade project to progress, but will bring back a draft bluestone curb policy to a future council meeting. Point 3 acknowledges that in developing a bluestone curb policy, provision will be made to ensure that each street that currently has stone curbing will be considered on its heritage value, as well as other factors, including financial costs, when it comes to stone curb replacement or renewal. Point 4 awards the tender for the 12th Street curb, gutter renewal and stormwater upgrade project to council's preferred tenderer to deliver option 2, retention of existing extents of concrete and stone curbing, while allowing minor variation for consistency so that the slate stone curbing occurs between 11th and 14th Streets on the northern side, between 11th and 17th Street, streets on the southern side and adjacent to the original Gawler South Council office on the southern side, with concrete curbing elsewhere, the effect of which is to reduce the slate/stone curbing by approximately 30 metres, noting the officer's recommendation about not having mixed material in the same place.
Mayor, if I can interrupt, that was quite a stream of consciousness typing. I'm happy to do that. But before we do, can we put in the one above 3? When it comes to stone curb management, replacement or renewal? So if the word management in there picks up a comment made by a member of the public.
So, when it comes to stone curb management, replacement
or renewal.
Yes.
Thank you, that just says that. Now, I'm open for, I don't know that we need as much detail in that fourth one.
We actually think the detail's good.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Certainly, okay.
It just gives clear guidance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, please keep moving.
So this is a silly question and I'm so sorry for asking it. Option 2, retention of existing extents of concrete and stone curbing. Are we not talking about taking and replacing? Like, so you would have to remove it and then reinstall it? Yeah.
We've taken the broad definition.
The broad definition of retention.
It's,
okay.
And it's using the officer's words.
Okay.
So,
So we're all happy with that. Okay. Number 5 authorises the Chief Executive Officer to execute all necessary documentation to give effect to the contract. Notes that Council's 24, 25 and 25 and 26 adopted budgets allocate $993,000 to the 12th Street curb gutter renewal and stormwater upgrade project. However, the total cost of project option 2 retention of existing extensive concrete and stone curbing is approximately $1.585 million. $1.5 million and $85,000.
Mayor, would it be possible to put in that which includes the debt contribution? So it's not a total cost to council, is it? I just, again, trying to make it absolutely clear and transparent to the community.
Yep, that's the words I use, inclusive of the debt.
Inclusive of the, contributions, contribution, and that's fine. Happy with that, Councillor Hennessy, good pick up. Then point 7 approves the deferral of the following 25-26 capital works projects to fund the shortfall required to deliver the 12th Street curb, gutter renewal and stormwater upgrade A, Main North Road, Williston Detailed Design Streetscape Upgrade, 150,000. Williston Stormwater Drainage Project, Stage 2, 150,000. Implement road safety improvements of the Emu Crossing, Apara Road, 50,000. Car park lighting upgrade, Reed Street Car Park, 40,000. You've got a question or something to add?
Through the chair, just the first bit of point 7, and it'll make sense we get point 8. It should be approves a deferral of the following projects to partially fund the shortfall. It's not going to fully fund it.
Okay.
Can I suggest contribute to funding?
Yep.
As opposed to, yeah.
Yep, that works as well.
Look, we're here anyway, we might as well. Wordsmith
To
it.
funding.
Contribute to, you happy with the wording there, Mover? On that point, Councillor Hennessy? Yep. Point 8, the shortfall will, with reduced amount of curbing as above and the community funding contribution to be found from loan borrowings.
So through the chair, the balance of the shortfall.
The balance of the shortfall, yes. Thank
And
you very
then
much.
rather than found,
Of
to
the-
be funded from,
To be funded from, yes.
rather than found from.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're happy?
Can I make,
Councillor Solomon?
as the suggestion I made before, I'm seeking the comfort levels of the CEO to give some broader discretion to yourself to figure that out and take it from loan borrowings or whichever other method you might see fit, obviously without slashing things.
I think we already do give you that delegate anyway, don't we, CEO? Or?
Yeah, I think I'll take this wording as my backstop, and if I can do better than that, I have the opportunity to do that, so I'm comfortable.
You're happy with that?
But thank you for that.
Yeah, but
thought.
good point. Councillor Hennessy, you're happy with that? All right. Yeah, question?
So we've got in there the balance of the shortfall. We're going to put in there summary of a guide. You know, what if this blows out something fierce?
Well, I think the shortfall has been tendered and priced for option 2, and that's what I think they're locking in, which is the 177,000 shortfall. Yeah, so should we put the shortfall? Yeah, no, I'll take your point.
Shortfall comes out and we're 250, 300,000.
Would you like to, yeah, look, I take the point. Are you happy for us to identify the shortfall? Mover?
Yeah, we made so many changes. I'm just wondering the comfort level of the CEO to identify exactly what that is at the moment.
Well, I think the report does identify the shortfall of the option 2. Take your. I take your point. Yeah. So taking Councillor Lorna's point, and absolutely, if we actually did some quick math here.
Rather than, may I make another suggestion? Rather than do maths, can we say budgeted shortfall to address Councillor Lorna's concern about it going outside the what is budgeted for it, but also or something to effect of the budgeted amount, so that we're still referring to the budgeted amount for the expenditure, so that it doesn't go beyond that, because the expenditure doesn't change, and then that, but it's still broad enough as not to be restrictive if we accidentally put the wrong number in there at this point. Does that make sense?
So I'm going to look for a little bit of guidance here, and apologies on the clunkiness of this, but it is an important topic. We understand Councillor Lorna's point, and what I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but what he's trying to avoid is we all of a sudden go out and do option 2 and our contractor, which hopefully is not the case, comes back and says, oh, well, actually this clause means we need to be charging 300,000, not 150,000 for the option 2, the optional upgrade.
Mr. Mayor, can I just get David I just want to give the elected members some insights on, we've obviously got a tender for a contract amount. Yeah, how would we normally manage that, and how would we contain, any additional cost requests? Is that what we're trying to get a level of comfort around, Councillor Lorna? Yep.
Yeah, so through the chair, we could put into the resolution the balance of the project budget's shortfall, noting the project budget is 1585, so 1.585 million. And we could put in brackets, which is approximately 166,940 if you want to go to that far, and then add the community funding contribution of 21,900. Then you've got all the numbers in the thing. You are limiting your project expenditure to 1.585 million.
Would you, Mover, you're happy with us putting that wording in? Thank you for the suggestion, Mr. Barrett. Wording to that effect would be to be funded from the loan borrowings to not exceeding project totality of 1.585 million. Is that as simple as that is?
Get David just to tell us where he was envisaging that to go in.
Yeah,
Just
so
after.
the balance, the resolution to read, the balance of the project budget's shortfall. That way it's specific to the project. With an apostrophe and S on budgets. Yep.
And then we can probably...
Reduced amount of curbing as above the community funding contribution of $21,900. To be funded from loan borrowings with the total project cost to not exceed $1,585,000.
Okay.
000, please. Please add the zeros.
Now you can make that work for $1,500 bucks.
$1,500, no worries. Give a refund to Geha.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett, for that. And as you are staff, I'm going to take that as comfort level that we're going to be able to produce that. It picks up your concerns there, Councillor Lorna, which I think were warranted. You're happy there, Mover? You don't need me reading that point out again? No. And then we've also, if we can go down. Yeah, so just point 9 notes that by deferring the capital works projects outlined above and the budget adjustment, council does not need to increase its budgeted debt level in the 25. That disappears. Point 9 gets deleted completely. And then the new point 9 will be now table the documents provided to council members on the 25th of November 2025 by the Gawler Environment and Heritage Association, GEHA. Okay, so that is your motion, Councillor Hennessy. Are you happy with the wording?
I am, and I'd like to thank everyone around this table, as well as members of the public who came to talk to us. I think that is an excellent resolution of a very detailed thing, and thank you for the time and effort to put into it.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Are we looking for a seconder and then open? No, we already are. Yeah. So 8:21, we moved back in. Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Well, point of order, Councillor Solomon. With all due respect, no, just kidding. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Davies, you're happy to second.
Yeah, look, thank you everyone for that long process, and thanks to everyone who stuck around. It is important to know where the money goes. So I guess firstly, just to again thank Geha and Adrian, and there's a lot of detail in here. There's community consultation was done. We have background, we have history, and it's very helpful in figuring out what to do here. I think for me, initially I was considering the concrete back in February when it was presented as here's the concrete and here's an extra $500,000 for replacing it with bluestone. But I think that was probably not a framing that reflected, I guess, my thought process, in that the default state we should be working on this kind of thing is like for like, and it's not that there's the option of concrete and we're deciding to increase the cost. It's like for like is this option 2, and we have the option of decreasing the cost and saying, look, we can get rid of the heritage, but we get a 10% discount. And for me, that's not as solid of an argument as the one I guess we were seeing back in February of, here's the concrete, you want to upgrade it, here's an extra $500,000 for that. I think this is a much more reasonable, it's a compromise, but it's one that people on 12th Street are happy with. And because this is not, so my understanding, the reason that 12th Street, the actual street, is a state government road, but the curbs and gutters, etc., are council, is that's the residential side of it that's used by the residents rather than the part that is for traffic between councils that goes to the state government. And so what we should be thinking around our curbs and gutters and footpaths is, how will this affect the local residents? What will the local residents think? And so, and that's where we've gotten a lot of good feedback. So I just think, it would have been nice to have a big upgrade of well, I keep wanting to say bluestone because we've been referring to it as bluestone, but is in fact not, but slate. But yeah, I think for me, this is, as it says in the first item, the first pillar of our community plan is the uniquely identifiable township, and we've heard a lot of reasons in the public open forum as to why it contributes to that unique heritage. So I'll second this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. The debate is now open. Any further discussion? Those that want to speak for or against, the floor is yours. Would you like to say a few words, Councillor Solomon?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll speak candidly about this. Back in February, I was probably of a similar view to Councillor Davies. I know at the time we didn't have a concrete answer around the cost, excuse the pun, but I think that at the time I was concerned about the figure that was given of around $500,000, and also had a concern that a delay and this being put into another budget cycle would result in the cost of another $500,000 and take this to an additional $1 million that we hadn't budgeted for. To me, at the time, that cost was restrictive, and it wasn't something I was willing to put on the ratepayers of Gawler. It wasn't something I felt I could answer to the community about. That being said, and that's why I opposed that at the time, delaying this. But we are where we are now, and so the question that I found myself asking the last few days is around at what point does that cost become viable? And I think that there is little doubt in my mind that the $163,000 that has been proposed, with a contribution from the community, which is not common, not something we commonly have. It's been done, but I applaud the residents of 12th Street for looking to contribute that, because while it is a small amount in the grand scheme, it does show a willingness to work with council to achieve a community outcome. My thinking has changed around this. I do believe that preserving our heritage is extremely important. I wasn't willing to put another $1 million in debt on top of that in order to preserve this, but I am willing to, at this point, spend the $163,000 that is required to maintain what we currently have. I must say the like-for-like argument which is put in the report, and I know it's been put in the chamber, doesn't necessarily convince me. I think that you know, it's like saying that by modern engineering standards, like for like is in fact a concrete curb. It's like, I can't imagine someone saying that by engineering standards, a Model T Ford is like a Suzuki Swift. And I'm sure I would have a better metaphor if Councillor Samble was here to help me out, because I have very little knowledge of cars. But I think that it still stands. I don't see that as being a reasonable argument in this case. I think that like for like and maintaining that standard is really going to be ensuring that we keep what we have. For an example of that, I'm reminded as well, as I went for a walk down 12th Street, and what came to mind was myself as a young child. And I thank everyone who came and spoke tonight, because it resonated with me, the story about moving from somewhere else to Gawler, me not being originally from Gawler, for the purpose of getting a better education. And the first time I was walking down those streets with a Bluestone and just thinking, wow, this is a completely different world. And me as a kid in a working class family who'd never really travelled much anywhere, including the city, you know, hadn't travelled much out of the suburbs, that was amazing to me. It was something which had that effect, and I did remember that walking down 12th Street the other day, and as we had speakers here talking about similar experiences tonight. So to me, it's something which is important and it's unique about Gawler. We have an opportunity to preserve that. I note there is a cost to it, but I think that cost is reasonable, it's achievable, and it's all about priorities at the moment. I think that this does fall in the right place on the priority list. In terms of the policy, what I will say is that I note the report says assessing each on their merits, and with the lack of a policy or criteria against which to assess the merits, I don't think that's a positive way to keep moving forward. I might not agree with some of the others in the chamber about how that policy takes shape, but I think that at least having some guidelines around decisions like this, whether they're made by the chamber, if the administration is making them, what kind of guidelines there are around that is an important thing. Having some criteria to assess the merit against, and understanding when we should be replacing like for like. And for lack of a broader context and strategy around heritage protection, I also can't accept any argument that our resources are better used elsewhere to protect other heritage in the town. If there was a comprehensive plan to deliver on that, then I would be willing to look at that and see if there were trade-offs that needed to be had. Because we don't have that, I'm not willing to trade this important piece of our heritage, and I think preserving this corridor as a potential for future generations to look at what that entry statement to Old Gawler looks like, as it is strategically situated at the entrance to the old township. I think that's an important thing to maintain. Once it's gone, it's gone. So I'm happy to support this motion. I thank Councillor Hennessy for her advocacy in bringing this back so that we can get the costs down to a concrete answer. Thank you.
Start with a pun, finish with a pun. Bravo. Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Do I have any further discussion? You'd like to speak, Councillor Lorna?
Yeah, thank you. This is obviously a very important topic here, and the motion that's been put up and workshopped together is a good motion. If it's going to get picked up, then that is a good thing. I'd be confident with it. That gives us some safeguards. Myself, I'm still here. I've got concerns that the costs are going to blow out. I've got concerns where we're going to get money from. We've made commitments that we are going to keep our belts tight and, you know, try and get into a positive operating position. This is a situation where I find that we've grabbed something, we've run with it, trying to protect the heritage. There's a lot of people here tonight, and I do really appreciate what you do for the heritage of Gawler as well. I also have a lot of people that are more concerned about rates and what that's happening and what we can develop and provide into Gawler as a project. So like I said, I appreciate you all, and believe me, I don't hate heritage. I believe heritage is very, very important in Gawler. The 12th Street doesn't sit with me at that point, and with a lot of the people that I represent. So for that point, I will not be supporting the motion, even though I'm happy with the motion, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Councillor Lorna. Any further discussion? Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, just thanking everyone for the really great debate, and also putting the motion together as well as the report. Like on page 36, those pieces of massive slate, those photographs and all the work that's gone into that, it's just amazing as well. Yeah, very quickly, when I did year 12, I started studying McGill, which is where I lived at the time, and found there wasn't a lot of heritage around McGill anymore. It just about all gone. So I looked in the libraries and found there was still a lot of heritage in Gawler. And but a year later, after doing my year 12 project, I've lived in the Gawler area ever since. So I studied Gawler, and the heritage of Gawler was unique. Really, Councillor Solomon sort of explained walking through the streets. I think that's a real feeling, and when you do walk through or see what's happened now in Jacob Street, it has changed that streetscape now. It's not the same streetscape, and it does change that character. And just listening to everyone talk about streetscapes and character, it is really important for people in Gawler, and the curbing is a really important part. Unfortunately, I'm on call, and I think I might have to go shortly, but yeah, I'm really happy about the way things are going with working with the community and the community engagement as well, which I think is really important too. So yeah, really happy to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks.
We're just checking on quorum. We're just picking up on your message there, Councillor Hughes. If you leave, yeah, this is quorum. If we lose one,
I can set up my computer here and work from here if that's all right.
No, you have 6. I'm the casting. Oh, okay. So then I become the voting? No. Okay, here we go. We're okay? Okay, sorry. Councillor Hughes, thank you for that. Sorry, Deputy Mayor, we just had to check on the technicality. We were running a little bit light.
No, that's okay. I'm happy to not speak if Councillor Hughes needs to go and we need a vote. But I'll speak if I've got the chance. Look, I want to apologise in advance because I'll be taking our CEO's spot as the Grinch of the evening, but I'll leave that to him for this Saturday's Christmas parade. I have been quite negative tonight and critical. Two major things. I do want to separate the Capital Works discussion from the 12th Street discussion. I'll start with the Capital Works. I understand the reasoning behind the 2 Williston projects. However, in the same breath, we've got a responsibility to the residents there that this will get done in a timely manner as outlined in our long-term financial plan. And it has been too long that these residents have gone with flooding driveways and whatnot. And again, I think taking it out of the budget, even though it was never going to be there, it does send a poor message. The same goes with the Emu crossing on Power Road and the Reed Street lighting. Look, if there are concerns about the location of that crossing or getting power to that car park, it should never have gone in the budget, because that budget is then what we determine the loan repayments, which is then what we rate off of. I sat here approving that budget in June with the expectations those projects would be delivered this financial year, and I'm being told that, oh, we didn't actually go to look at the road, or we didn't check the power there. That's simply not good enough. We need to get better at this. This is our community's purses that we're dealing with, and if we are making those decisions 5 months after approving the budget and going, oh, actually, that's not, that we need to get better than that. I've also got huge concerns around the $415,000 shortfall. I understand there is, huge rising costs, particularly in construction. But again, we need to be conscious that we've got accurate information sharing when we budget, because what we've done now is basically said to our community, oh, we need to increase this no matter what by $500,000. And that, again, paints council in a real negative picture, and it is something our community deserves better from. So I think those lessons we seriously need to take, and I know we're getting better, but there is still massive room for improvement.
In saying that, I'll move on to the Bluestone, excuse me, the slate curving 12th Street. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank the Gawler Environment and Heritage Association for your work. I also want to thank the proposed contributions. I do think that sends a really big message, and all the local residents that are here. I can't stress enough, if you don't come and speak to us and rock up at council meetings and engage with us, we can't make the most informed decisions. So no matter how individually we vote or collectively, please don't stop showing up, because it's really important that we hear directly from our community. So thank you. Look, heritage is so important to Gawler, and this sort of concept and challenges I've done so much more research into, and it's been quite interesting. I never thought I'd care so much about curbing. I really admire our heritage, so much so that I'm lucky enough that sharing our state's history is something I now get to do for a living. However, what we're currently talking about is about $150,000 shortfall. And for me, the simple question after hearing all the discussion, all the debate and doing all the research is the heritage benefit of a curb worth to a majority of the Gawler residents that cost? And after much discussion and research, I've decided, in my opinion, that for me, it isn't. This doesn't mean I want to rip up all of our heritage. It's about awarding projects on merit, merit being the historic value. For example, heritage houses, buildings and walls to some extent are key pieces that complement the modern world we live in. Unfortunately, I don't see the historical value of these curbs meeting the additional cost that's required on 12th Street. They are installed to manage stormwater and have clearly exceeded their term and need replacement. However, I feel as council we have a responsibility to install the most appropriate infrastructure that enhances the heritage character of the street while meeting modern day financial and infrastructure expectations. For example, some time ago we decided that bitumen was more appropriate than gravel. We found that electric lights were better used than kerosene. We thought that electric trains were better than coal power. And we also found that concrete was more appropriate and economical than bluestone. It doesn't mean we don't have lights or roads or trains, it just means we upgrade them to the times today while leaving the infrastructure that was built to last. Whether we like it or not, 12th Street is a busy thoroughfare with about 7,000 vehicles passing along it each day. It therefore needs appropriate infrastructure to manage that. Now, despite the fact that we've had a really great discussion tonight, and I really, really appreciate that, there is many parts of that motion that I do agree with. First and foremost, acknowledging heritage as a community pillar and tabling the information that Gihara provided us. But even if we had that $163,000 or $150,000 sitting there that we could use, I would still be apprehensive to use it for 12th Street. I would prefer to have a discussion and see, could that be used for a heritage grants program so that people across the whole community could apply and get small grants that could help go towards restoring their historic homes, investing in our interpretive signage around the town, putting it towards upkeep elsewhere. I think about that $150K and all that could be done for heritage across our town. This doesn't mean that curbs don't contribute to the heritage value, so I think addressing each street on its merits is key, but ultimately that may mean that more major thoroughfares miss out when more minor streets under different circumstances could be considered. It also doesn't mean the history's gone, and if history is truly about sharing stories from the past, explaining what was here before and the significance of the street, then maybe we could even use some of the bluestone as a base for an interpretive sign or a plaque that sits along that street to actually educate the broader population. It's no secret that 12th Street needs some serious work, and when it's done, whether it's with concrete or mixed bluestone or complete bluestone, it will look much more appealing than it is now. But for me, I was elected to make a fair and balanced decision for all of Gawler, and after much consideration, believe me, much consideration, it's about whether the benefits outweigh the cost for a majority of the Gawler community. And for me right now, I simply just can't support what's on the table. But again, I really want to thank you for your involvement, and I hope that while you don't have to agree with me, you can at least understand where I'm coming from. And I do want to finish off with a quote from a book called The History of Gawler by E.H. Coombe that was written in 1908. And they actually make comment, believe it or not, about the slate footpaths. Coombe writes here, when in the 1860s, the slate flagging was adopted in Murray Street, Gawlerites felt that they were making decided headway in footpath evolution. The corporation shared the cost of this work with property owners. Some things don't change. Today, the worn-out slate is giving place to the less rigid and more accommodating asphalt. The latter material was also found to have some of the outside streets where it has displaced gravel and limestone rubble. A more popular dressing for outside footways is that of concrete, containing a proportion of street scrapings and covered with a coating of tar. This is a cheap material and provides a durable track. And I think what I'm trying to show by that is even people in 1908, when talking about our town, understood that we had to evolve and that there were new and more economically viable materials available. So with that said, I can't support this motion on all of the information I've stated. However, whatever a renewed 12th Street looks like, I think we can all agree that we're very much looking forward to that, and thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you. So Councillor Solomon's seek leave to speak again. Does he have it? I think you've got it there, Councillor Solomon.
I'll try and be brief. There's a couple of things that I wanted to address. Thank you to the Deputy Mayor. But I just wanted to address a couple of things. In February this year, we were here in this chamber. The ratepayers of Gawler are paying an extra $415,000, and these projects are not getting funded, not because of the slate curving. They are not getting funded because we did not make a decision as a council. Now, if we can justify that by sitting here and saying we did not have the correct information to do that, that is fine. But to say that it is because we're doing Bluestone is completely incorrect. If we want to be better off at budgeting, I think we should take accountability for our decisions in this chamber. I don't accept that this is a staff issue. I think the staff issue comes in at the point where we didn't have a comprehensive policy and there was so much uncertainty around this and we couldn't get it costed in time to deliver the project properly. I think that was an oversight. I think it came from a strategic oversight, but to simply say that it was a staff issue and that also, by the token of, so these projects, circumstances do change. If we're going to sit here and have such a comprehensive overview of every single project that we're going to deliver, that it bogs us down in the bureaucracy and costs so much to get to that point, I don't think we can deliver things. I would prefer that staff turn around and say, yes, this project actually can't be funded now, and I think that's what's happened with some of these. But I think we do need to take responsibility for the fact that this delay is what cost us the $415,000, not the fact that staff didn't do their jobs properly. That's my point of view.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Now, is there any further discussion? If I could please ask the council's indulgence for me just providing a couple of comments personally. I am very conscious of not being accused to lead debate, and I've been pretty hopefully helpful in maintaining the meeting and crafting to the motion. I just also, as an elected member and as a ratepayer, also just thought it fair and reasonable to provide a little bit of feedback. I think a lot of you in the room won't be necessarily surprised by it. I really would like to thank those that came up and spoke tonight. I think it's a very important topic more broadly on heritage in the town of Gawler. Absolutely. Where I fall over is the projects that we choose to go a gold option, which I do acknowledge option 3 was probably that gold option, and I'm not necessarily out of the options falling on option 2. You know, if we're going to go away, I probably would have rathered option 1 personally. But that only becomes from the point of us looking at these projects singly, and it probably points out to the policy position and what that looks like, and we probably need to do some more work in that space. But we're currently building a heritage look wall on Pioneer Park in a state heritage place, and it's costing us $1.8 million. Hopefully we're still on budget, Mr. CEO. And it has taken us 2 years to deliver. I think it's overall, I think that was the outcome we needed for the look of our town. Getting rid of it and then just battering off and relocating the bodies, I personally don't believe was necessarily the right choice. That is a premium that we are investing in for this reason, and that's the optional extra that we chose as council, and we said, you know what, we believe in that. However, it's a heritage look wall. We're not restoring a heritage wall, and the slate curbing here, we're going to come up with a process, a detail, that's a modern day detail, and we're going to reuse, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing. However, I agree that a curb to water table to road as a holistic system is the modern day solution for a connector road like 12th Street. That said, I'm the spokesperson of council regardless. So however this goes, I'm not upset necessarily, more broadly, but I do take the point in making sure that our budget process as well. I tend to agree with the Deputy Mayor that there are some projects here that I actually don't mind the fact that we're communicating hey, here's some options here, that if we do need to make up money, these projects are probably going to drop below the line and we need to tease out the communication. Because sometimes it can look like, well, you're not doing this because we're doing this. And that is not necessarily right for all 100% of these projects because some are maybe going to drop out anyway. I thank staff for the acknowledgement, saying, hey, yes, we acknowledge maybe there's some improvement that we can make, and I look forward to teasing that out in January, February. The other thing that I am, let's say, happy about, because the alternative wasn't necessarily that great, was an initial costings of maybe some slate curbing was closer to $500,000 add. I don't necessarily like increasing our borrowings for a heritage look curb. And full disclosure, and I've got a lot of ratepayers that probably also agree with that. However, I do acknowledge the time and effort and the opinion that might be different in the room, and I seriously thank you for it. I think we've got a better motion from the crafting of what we've got here tonight, and I look forward to seeing how this plays out and then moving forward, because regardless, this 12th Street upgrade is going to be an upgrade, and I think we can all agree on that. And I think our differing opinions are going to be white noise in the past, because whatever direction is set tonight is going to provide that upgrade moving forward, and we will take a bit of feedback and we'll work through different projects and see if we can refine policy however that looks moving forward. But once again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and although I might have a differing opinion on this particular item, we share a lot of the same sentiment as well. So with that, Helena, would you like to close? I didn't want to butt in,
No,
but
I'd like
I
to
also
put the
didn't want to
motion.
come after.
I'd like to put the motion, please.
You'd like to put that motion at 9 o'clock? Our first motion? Perfect, no worries. Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. I will now put that motion. All those in favour? All those against? That is carried. Thank you, members. Thank you, members of the gallery. Thank you for those tuning in. It is 9 o'clock. Would anyone like to have a 5-minute break? Yeah, I thought that might be the case. We'll take 10 minutes. We'll be back at 9:15. Thank you. Thank you, members. We'll just wait. Okay, we have our live stream back on. Welcome back. We just returned from a 10-minute break. I have a motion, I think, from Councillor Davies to extend the meeting time. Just going to get that in straight up. So I'm going to, Councillor Davies has moved to extend the meeting time by half an hour. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hennessy. Any discussion? There be none, I'll put that motion. That is carried unanimously to extend the meeting time. Perfect, thank you very much. Okay, moving through our agenda, we are now on item 9.2, the second item of our agenda tonight. So we have council member appointments to external bodies on page 56. So, how are we... Okay, so we have items 1, 2 and 3 in the officer's recommendation, looking for a representation of a Gawler Business Development Group, also the Gawler Community Neighbourhood House, and then also the Gawler and District B12 Governing Council. Now, if I don't have 3 members, I am noting that we've only got 6 elected members and we are short, but I guess it is what it is at this point in time. You can, with their permission. I haven't been, so Jim's on every count, yep. No, sorry, that was probably unprofessional of me. Okay, so looking for 3 members. Let's start with item 1. Any takers for the Gawler representative of the Gawler Business Development Group, which is now Business Gawler, still trading under Gawler Business Development Group. Councillor Solomon, I note you're already the member, your current member.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Solomon again, who I think has been doing some excellent work on that.
Okay, and you're happy to accept that nomination, Councillor Solomon? You are. Is there any contention for this position? If there isn't, I'm going to move on to item 2. We have the Town of Gawler representative of the Gawler Community Neighbourhood. I think Councillor Davies is the outgoing. Do I have any nominations for this position?
I will nominate Councillor Davies.
Okay, to continue on, thank you, Deputy Mayor White. Now, do you accept that nomination, Councillor Davies?
Yes, and noting I am actually currently the chair of the Gawler Community House.
There you go. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got one left. We have the Gawler and District B12 Governing Council, which I think Councillor Davies is actually... Oh, no, sorry, Councillor Hennessy. I know that Councillor Davies has done it in the past.
He certainly has, and I'm unfortunately unable to continue in this role because of some other conflicting commitments on that night, so I'm just looking for somebody else to pick this responsibility up. It's a very worthwhile governing council to belong to.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Hennessy, and for sitting in for the last 12 months. Do I have a taker for this position? If we don't get a taker for this position, Mr. CEO, is there an ability for this to then resurface in our December meeting, potentially? So this one gets deferred to the December. We might have a fuller membership at that point in time.
That would make sense because the council actually goes into recess for December and January, and so somebody is not needed till February, even possibly March.
Okay, yep, perfect. Were you thinking about nominating before we move to defer this one?
Yeah, look, I can if no one else wants to do it. Noting, I believe from the way that it works, Councillor Hennessy will remain the rep until they have their AGM because they have to approve it on their end.
Okay.
Because there's that Christmas, January break.
Perfect. All right, members, I'm in your hands if we're all happy with that. Okay, so we have Councillor Solomon for Business Gawler and we have Councillor Cody Davies for Community Neighbourhood House and District College B12. If we're happy with this, I'll look for a mover. You're happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes. Happy to second Councillor Hennessy. Was there any discussion from the mover or seconder? Any debate, discussion? There be none. Are you happy for me to put that? I'm going to put that motion. All in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, moving through our big agenda. We have item 9.3 on page 59. So, looking for Elderly Centre, we need to adopt the terms of reference with that one, and then we also need to look at the 2 members for the Elderly Centre Advisory Working Group, the Ageing Well and the Football and Associated, and also the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group. Councillor Hennessy.
With his permission, I'd like to nominate Councillor Samble, who is the chair of the new chair of the Elderly Centre Advisory Working Group, and self-nominate myself for both the Ageing Well and the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group, please.
Okay. Now, I haven't spoken with Brian, but
All I can share, Mr Mayor, is that the last 2 conversations I've had with him, he's gone from questioning to being very happy and that it's productive, and I would estimate he wants to continue.
and worst that can happen, we need to revoke something and he falls off. So let's dob Councillor Samble in. I like your work. Okay, so we've got Councillor Samble, Councillor Hennessy for the Elderly Centre Advisory. Councillor Solomon?
I'm happy.
Oh, sorry, just Brian. Oh, you're sorry. You're Ageing Well. Sorry.
I'm happy to.
So,
Yeah.
you know what? You know what? I'm locking that in too. I'm locking that in too. I think that's accurate. Okay. So the proxy for the Elderly Centre Advisory Working Group, looking for a proxy to support Councillor Samble.
Yes,
You're-
I'm happy. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I'm happy to nominate for that position as well.
We can take 2 proxies. Yep, Isaac's. Councillor Solomon? Okay. So, Ageing Well, we already have Councillor Hennessy. Looking for a second member to Age Well with Councillor Hennessy.
I'm happy to self-nominate unless the mayor wants to go on that one.
I do have a couple of groups that I'm currently already, and I'll probably put my hand up for the football one, and also being the chair of that one, and I'll probably redo the Reconciliation Action Plan. The mayor has been on that consistently, and then the other committees, etc., run through.
Well, if no one else, I'm happy to go on the Ageing Well and would also like to self-nominate for the football and sporting club ones and the RAP, if possible.
Yep. Cool. All right, so we've got Councillor Hennessy, Deputy Mayor White. Okay, so I'll self-nominate for the Football and Associated, because I'm the current chair as well. You're nominating too, Councillor White. Councillor Davies, would you like to be on that one as well? Councillor Solomon, Councillor Lorna. Wrong keyboard there. Okay. Who are you missing? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're the current membership, isn't it, of that particular working group? I'm pretty sure. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's where the extra spot is. Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Okay. Anyone else want to jump on that one? I think the elected membership is well represented, but we do have a lot of presidents and their 2 ICs as well, so there's still more room if need be. No? Okay. I've got the Reconciliation Action Plan. I'm probably going to put my hand up on that and just continue through. Yeah, Councillor Davies.
What is the current meeting times and days of the RAP?
Tends to be Thursday, and it is at 4:30 to 5:30. However, just in the last few months, we have also allowed Teams, we more regularly use Teams as a meeting option as well, which has certainly made it much more flexible for many of the community members.
Yeah, a little bit of a better attendance there. Frequency, remind me, is it monthly? It is monthly? No, I thought it was bi-monthly. Yeah, it is bi-monthly, Councillor Davies. You're happy to nominate there? Yep. Councillor Hennessy, you were also wanting to nominate. So we've got 2 positions on that one. You can go 3. Perfect. We'll add a 3rd. Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor White, yes. Yep, so we'll chuck Councillor Davies on there. So that's 4. Are we?
I'm actually quite happy with that because it means whatever happens would probably get a good councillor representation at every meeting.
Okay.
Because historically we've struggled to people to be able to attend.
Yeah, yep. So if one of us is an apology, at least you've, yep. I know I certainly have been guilty of being an apology at that time. Okay. So that is all our working groups populated. If everyone is happy with that, you're happy to move Councillor Hennessy, looking for a seconder. You're happy to second the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? No worries, I'm going to put that motion, all those in favour. So that is carried unanimously, thank you. All right. Sorry, just working through the pages. 72. So we have item 9.4 on page 72, around the Heritage Collection Committee, also the CEO PMP panel. No, sorry. No, it's all heritage. Sorry. Sorry. It's already been a long night. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so we're looking for 3 members that would like to. Councillor Hennessy, I know you're already on as well, so you'd like to continue through. Any other councillors that would like to jump on this one? Who are the current members? It's yourself, Brian, Councillor Sample, and Paul Kosh. Yes, okay. Oh, okay, yep, no worries. For some reason, I'm not getting the invites for that one, I don't think.
Okay, that's... My feeling is that Councillor Samuel will probably want to contend, so I don't know whether we want to include him on proviso.
Yep, continue it through, yes. Yeah, yourself, Councillor Samble.
And what do we do in the case of Councillor Kosh, who's on leave? Because again, I feel that he probably would like to, but you know, it's an unusual situation.
I think my estimation is that he's on a leave of absence from council meetings. He may still wish to attend via Teams or online, according to my last conversation. So I think it's appropriate.
He has been a pretty long-serving member on there as well. To boot him off because he's not here doesn't seem right. And look, if there's an elected member that would like to also be on this committee, I think we can. He's not. Oh, that is the limit. Okay. Yeah. To be honest, I didn't even realise I was on there. So, I'm okay. Well, I'm getting conflicted information here. I haven't attended one, but that's what I know.
Can I just see some clarification from governance? So, the last committee membership was 4 members. We're recommending there's 3 slots. Is there a reason why we've done that?
In attachment 1, there's the new term.
Yeah, that's just. I mean the term. So is that the terms of reference that the Gorola Heritage Committee put forward? So no. Just how did we go from 4 to 3, I guess is the question.
Through you, presiding member, there was a request that came through following discussions at the meeting. I understand that the idea is that the council members on the committee do not outnumber the community representatives on that committee, and hence why the terms of reference have reduced the number of members to being, instead of a minimum of 3, to 3 members. Is that correct, Councillor Hennessy?
My memory is a bit fuzzy on that. I don't remember these terms of reference. I'd have to take that on notice and check. But I think it's a good sentiment that that we don't outnumber, but I can't actually remember that it's come back and been ratified.
Susie?
Councillor through the chair, Councillor Hennessy, I don't believe the minutes went through the committee. It was a request I received from the staff following some discussion at the meeting to reduce the number.
So you could, look, correct me if I'm wrong, you could respectfully disagree, and should you want 4 members, again, in your hands, you can actually do the terms of reference as amended, because they are a committee of council. But if we've only got 3 members and Paul's not necessarily taking a spot of anyone else, I think the options are, we have 3, Mr. CEO?
Just an idea, Mr. Mayor. What if we had 3 and a proxy? And then that covers the base.
Yep.
And then we're respecting the wishes of the committee, and then covering all bases, I think.
And that will take someone else to put their hand up if that position is. Councillor Solomon? Question?
I'm asking when that committee meets.
Through the chair, it's the second Thursday of every second month, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And the month cycle is the August, October, December cycle, if that makes sense. It's the same as CAP cycle. Yes, CAP is after Heritage.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Solomon?
Yes, it does. I'm happy to nominate as proxy if
Okay.
no one else wishes to.
Yep.
But yes, just as a proxy, I would be happy to, prefacing, there are times where I may not be able to make it for work purposes, but I can change things around on the odd occasion.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. So we have self-nomination as proxy from Councillor Solomon. Okay, have we got that all neatened up? If everyone's happy with that, I'll ask for a mover.
I'm just wondering, we will not need to therefore change the terms of reference, is that?
Proxy isn't an official member.
Because proxy sits outside of it. You're still having 3 members.
Sure, okay, thank you.
But do you need to have 3 members and a proxy in the terms of reference technically?
Look, through you, and to answer your question, look, I can just put in as amended to reference a proxy,
Okay.
and then as contained in attachment 1, amended to include a proxy.
Yep, let's go with that, just to neaten everything up. Okay, we have a resolution. You're happy to move that way, Councillor Hennessy. You're happy to second, Councillor Hughes. Any discussion? If there be none, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Looking for youth advisory members. I'm happy to carry on as one of the members. However, if someone else would like the position to feel it out or whatever, by all means, we can work that one through. I just thought I'd put that out there. So looking for nominations, Councillor Davies, you're happy to continue on as well. Is there anyone else that would like the other position? Because if there isn't, I'm happy to continue on as a council representative on that. Yep, okay. Perfect. All right, we have a motion there. Can I get a mover? You're happy to move that way, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Lorna second. Just let the minute taker Deputy Mayor move. Yep, perfect. Any discussion? There being none, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Council Assessment Panel members? Member?
I'll nominate Councillor Solomon if he wants to accept. Continue, thank you. I'm also happy to self-nominate as a proxy or deputy member.
Yep, no worries. I'm just looking at these recommendations. Oh, yeah, sorry. I might be misreading it. Sorry, that's my misread. Okay, we're looking for 2 members because I believe Councillor Hughes and myself actually have been the deputies in the past, potentially. Councillor Hennessy, oh yeah, I might have dropped off last time, thank you.
And I'm going to actually step down again in because of commitments, but I'd like to, so we therefore have
Councillor Solomon as the
Solomon and Councillor Hughes would.
Oh,
as
you're
deputies.
you're happy to be the proxy, one of the 2 proxies, yep.
Now, you have to actually prioritise them. One has to be Deputy 1 and Deputy 2, as I understand, is traditionally.
I don't think we have to discuss it.
Is there a process where we have Deputy 1 and Deputy 2 as a priority here, or we just work it out?
I'd actually prefer if the deputies could engage it on their relative workloads or availability. I think it's prudent.
Yep, I think we can work that one out. Okay, so we have Councillor White and Councillor Hughes as the deputy members for Councillor Solomon. Everyone's happy with that? Can I get a mover? You're happy, Councillor Hennessy, happy to second Councillor Hughes. Any discussion? And being none, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving through the agenda. We're on page 102. Item 9.7. Do I have any questions about this particular item before I ask for a mover? We have the author Andrew Goodsell in the room. You'd like to speak first, CEO?
Purely, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to go on record and thank Andrew for his work on this body of work. It's very comprehensive, and I know I'm exceptionally thankful for Andrew's work, and I just want to publicly state that. And the team. And the team. Thank you. It's always a team effort, but yeah.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any questions for staff? You've got a question, Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, just a quick one. It's probably more concerns. It's about the extra water going down Whitelaw Creek in the North Parra, and also the effluent, how that's going to be handled, because it can blow out sometimes the timelines and things like that. But yeah, how that's going to be policed, I suppose, in a way, or what's going to be in place to try and minimise as much as possible.
Through the chair, I'm happy to answer that one. So I guess in the report, if I look at page 117 specifically, if you go through the documentation provided, you've got to dig a bit deep into the documentation to get your head around it, because the DHUD documentation says they've met all requirements and the flows are all manageable and they can deal with it all. And you go, okay, that's great. But then you look at the other documentation analysis and it says that they can only deal with a certain element of the stormwater runoff, which is understandable. I mean, in some ways, topographically, it's similar to Gawler East. And the devil's in the detail. A lot of the stormwater management will largely addressed at the land division stage, which is not a stage that's currently before us. We don't have that detail. Yes, so you can have tanks with your houses and you can do various water-sensitive urban design, but basically what you said is correct. There'll be a fair amount of additional runoff. So basically we said that in the report, that there is an unresolved issue in our sense that there needs to be some catchment analysis of how we mitigate that risk downstream. As land divisions occur, there'll be referrals through to the Gawler River Flood Management Authority. But it's something I've discussed with Chris as well, which is there's a broader conversation really about how perhaps the minister might be part of that process, the role of GRFMA, whether there's a different way of managing a range of complex issues in this catchment. So I think you're right that it's an issue. I don't know if I've got any great solutions for you today other than to flag it's an issue, and it's a recommendation in the report that we explore it further with the minister. So I think that's probably the best answer I can give. On the sewer and water, well, sewerage issue, as you're aware, and it's in the report, phase 0 is the first 600 lots, and there isn't substantial sewer upgrades required at that point in time. They're connecting into the existing system. But there is a substantial investment in a package treatment plant, which is in phase 1, which is the next 2,000 lots. And that package plant is generally situated in the western side of Concordia, and presumably at some point in time that will be incorporated into the SA Water network. There's a range of other upgrades, and as you know, there's discussion in the report about infrastructure enabling investment. There's hundreds of millions of dollars from Cabinet going into that, and obviously a very complex infrastructure model as to how that gets delivered. The water contribution per lot's $15,000, is $15,000 for sewer as well, and the rest of it's basically for road interventions. It is true that the code amendment itself had very little SA Water information in there, and you've got more now with the basic infrastructure scheme than we had before, which is great. One of the unknown elements with sewerage, I guess, is that they do talk about enabling infrastructure and how it's going to help the network broadly, but there's not a lot of information of what those broad improvements are, whether it helps Cuddler, whether it helps Roseworthy or other areas. And I think I've flagged that we need to have further discussions with the Minister about how that works out on the ground. And to DHUD's defence, not that I'm here to defend them, but it's right to say that there's ongoing conversations that need to be had as to what that looks like broadly across the catchment.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Hughes? I'm not even going to ask if you're happy about it. I'm just going to ask, does it... do I have any other questions for staff before we look for a mover? There be none. Are you happy to move, Councillor Davies?
Yeah, look, this is it's a very complicated, important thing, and I'm very glad that we've had some great information sessions and briefings that have helped us be across this important issue. And again, thanks to the staff for all of their hard work.
You're happy to second, Councillor Hennessy?
I am, and I just echo the CEO's words. It's, as Andrew's just said, the devil's in the detail, and it really reassures me that we are digging down and asking all those questions, because it's very easy to miss it. And it's really important that as council we keep reiterating our concerns. For me, many of those have come out of the information sessions, but for me, the underlining the word critical in relationship to the Sturt Highway Road and Freight connection, surely they can't ignore that any further, really. But so yeah, I commend the report, and I think I hope everyone will support it.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Councillor Solomon?
And just to add to that, I think, and I know we've had some very comprehensive workshops on this. I must admit, the first time we talked about the Gawler East traffic interventions, I processed about half of it and had to refer to my notes for the next week just to get my head around what was going on. So thank you to Richard and the team and Andrew for delivering that. But I think that is, as Councillor Hennessy said, that piece of infrastructure, which is that link road, is absolutely critical It's what we've got here in the report. It's not just saying it once, it's saying it over and over and over again. It's pushing that point. It's making sure that we are putting pressure on the right people to get that and directing residents to the right people to achieve that outcome. So I think that we're doing the right thing in that. So happy to see comments about the water and sewer as well. There's expansion which needs long-term forward planning for the growth in the north, and that's not just the things that affect Concordia, that is answering questions around what that means for places like Cudler and doing it in a cost-effective way in one go if it's possible. Also in there, I just want to mention public transport. We've talked about this a number of times. Public transport from day one is really important, because if we don't have public transport from the point that people are moving in there, they will find alternatives which they will become accustomed to, and that will become the norm. I think we need to have, very passionate about public transport. Deputy Mayor White there, he was cheersing to it. So I think with that, I just need to stress again, these traffic interventions in Gawler East are going to be extremely important. So I thank the team for the work that they've put into this, and the work that's being done to reassure and also keep the residents in that area part of this ongoing conversation about what that looks like.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Any further discussion? No, there be none. I might just add a couple of points with your indulgence. I completely agree with the sentiment. I think we've been pretty consistent in our information briefings. I think we've been very aligned as a council, and what that does is actually empower myself and the CEO to have these conversations with the Minister. And I think one of our last meetings, he made a joke about how much I talk about the same thing, being infrastructure, early delivery and the like. And I apologised and also notified him to say that I will keep on doing that because we have done a body of work, and we continue to do bodies of work that actually shows with data why we need these links, these traffic interventions now, let alone when stage 0 comes online, let alone stage 2 comes on, 1, 2, etc. So the consistency of that messaging, whatever ears will listen to us, I believe we do need to be consistent, and I think our position has been empowered by staff, and I think Andrew and his team as well, because I think us all singing from the same hymn sheet, more or less, does have the best opportunity of it landing in front of the people it needs to. And realistically, can we promise the outcome we all want? No, we can't, but we can certainly position this council to be in the best possible position to say that we tried everything, because we know full well that the link road is needed now. We know full well that we have a very historic river network here in the town of Gawler that is affected by upstream behaviours, and you're changing landscape, and we need to understand what effect that has, because our river is going to play a part. We'd like it to play a positive part, but the design needs to be correct and delivered appropriately. That is the same with water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure and the like, and how that then talks to the broader development of the north, as Councillor Solomon quite rightfully points out. I think we have too many examples in Australia where development is looking boundaries in rather than boundaries and out. I think our approach has been more holistic, and I think we have been ready with the data-driven answers that empowers us to make sure that we're on the stage saying, hey, we know the problems, but don't worry, we know the solutions as well. We just need cash flow. So with that said, Councillor Davies, are you happy to close the debate? You'd like that put? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so we have item 9.8 on page 146. We have as officer's recommendation to continue on with our current structure. Do you have any questions, Chamber, before I ask for a mover? Pretty self-explanatory, but happy to take any questions. You got a question, Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, is there a way, as a body of councillors, that we can sort of dictate like a terms of reference for our sort of how we do our workshops and
information
sort of
briefings?
Information briefings and just to try and, how do I put it, just try and get the most value out of them. Certainly when I was working on York Peninsula, the 3 councils there, they could have up to 6 information briefings, 20-minute briefings from staff, and they were just really quite powerful, the ones I went to, but just a way of councillors maybe having a bit more input. And I think also what was happening was they would then get a quorum of councillors also at these meetings as well. So it was just having that two-way input to try and get the most value out of them.
And to answer your question, absolutely, we direct, but I'll probably ask for a little bit of a technicality. How would we actually go about making a catch-all on information briefings? I note that some topics are bigger than others. How do
The short answer is happy to work with the group and come up with some, I guess, some foundation concepts.
Guiding principles?
Guiding principles. I think at this stage we were adhering to that kind of no more than 2 topics. Don't let it go past over 2 hours, but certainly I'm happy to take guidance. I personally like the punchy, shorter presentations, but make them meaningful. I've got no issues with that at all.
So as a suggestion, just noting the time of year and noting where we're at, instead of doing something on the fly, what about we come together in a workshop where we can maybe tease out some of these ideas next year? Another workshop that will define the terms of reference? No. Actually, not a workshop, but you know what I mean. That's the local government speak of coming together and talking it through.
What I can probably do, we may not need a workshop, even if I just sent around a bit of a Q&A, any ideas, and then I'll put that all together, and then I'll come back and say, what do you think of this? And then we can, is everyone comfortable with that?
Does that sound all right, Councillor Hughes? You happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so no workshop, good, all right. All good? It's over Tuesday night, okay. Any further questions before I look for a mover? There being none, I'll look for a mover. Councillor Hennessy, you're happy to move the officer's recommendation?
Yes, I am, and I like the previous conversation because we've already tweaked some of it. I think back to the way that we asked for some prior preparation from staff before the information. So I agree with what Councillor Hughes is saying. It's up to us to start to lay some further refinements about our information sessions. I note that we've had 28 this year, so far more than the 12 committee member meetings we would have had otherwise. I was initially very unsure about change, but I must admit I have found them useful. But that said, I think we can tighten things and get even more value out of them. So happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Councillor Solomon, you happy to second?
Yeah, happy to second, and just a short to say that I was also quite sceptical about what the change would look like, but I've been pleasantly surprised by what we've had, and honestly the committee meetings that I presided over at the CCS looked something like what the beginning of this meeting did tonight on a regular basis, and it was rare that we didn't suspend standing orders at least 2 or 3 times a meeting. So I think that the motions that I think have been coming back to the chamber based on the input that we've had has actually been really, really good. So I think for the main part been really good. So I'm happy to continue with this model. I think it's a good step forward.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor?
Just briefly to echo Councillor Hennessy and Solomon's words, but also just thank Susie, Nikita and team for this proposal I think initially came from you guys, so we appreciate that. And just to extend that to this meeting, we're going through quite a lot of policies and governance issues, and there's clearly a lot of work in there, so thank you guys so much. I think we're finally getting to a point, as we'll get to too, when we revoke some things that are probably unnecessary and tidy up. I can't agree more that those briefing sessions have while the IS and CCS in theory were good, they were becoming de facto council meetings, and I think the system we have now is working pretty well. So to keep that going towards the next term of council, I think will set the new chamber up really well. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Davies?
Yeah, look, I'll support this. I think it's been going well. The bit that I wanted to add, I guess, is just the caution almost of having. It's good that we get the chance to hash things out. Yeah, my worry sometimes is for that previous item, for example, we've asked all the questions, but that was in a non-public workshop with DHUD, and so someone just watching the meeting may just see that's pretty good, stamped, and they miss out on the, sometimes that 2-hour live working through of a thing is actually very helpful to the people in the gallery, for example. So just to say, I think this is a good thing and I support it, but just, making sure that we also are publicly explaining our back and forth to some degree as well, because that is a valuable part of the public policy process.
Yeah, and the discussion to be had is maybe about the balance and how we do those things. And I think I concur with the DHUD things being in confidence. I would love that not to be the case. Did you?
Just 2 seconds to say, obviously, in general, briefings are open for the public to attend. The Concordia one was unique because we are dealing with some sensitive information.
Yep. Oh, that's right. And sometimes we do need to go into confidence naturally. Okay. Any further discussion? Just quickly, I just wouldn't mind adding in a couple of points. I think it was really good how you've, Councillor Davies, you've referenced the last item. And I think that's a really good example of the information briefings being quite informative. In history, I've seen these reports go up, and we would see this potentially for the first time, more or less, go up through an IES meeting. And we'd have full meeting procedures, and we'd have our 5 minutes to debate the item, and then the recommendation would go to council, and then we'd do the whole debate again. I think what we're seeing now is the back and forth Q&A of information and staff taking the opportunity to inform elected members, which we do then see the reports, so that you don't necessarily enter into the debate based on uneducated opinion in some cases, and I'd say that with respect, I'm myself guilty of this in the past as well. I feel like we can hash out the conversation, and then when we come to the council meeting, we can enter into a respectful debate that might craft a motion slightly different to the officer's recommendation, but is done from a place of informed decision-making more broadly. So I look forward to continuing on, if that's the way this goes. And I agree, it probably will set up the next chamber as well, with the ability to have conversations not under meeting procedures all the time. So with that said, Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put that motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, I'm on page 149. We have a bit of policy work there. So we've got the officer's recommendation. Do I have any questions? I know there's a couple of policies on the table tonight. I also note the information briefing that we have had more broadly around policies too.
It's not so much a question, it's just a comment in relation to the Wilson Cemetery services offered. I'd like to remind council that in fact some fact sheets will replace that, as mentioned in the officer's report. They're now actually live on the council's website under the Wilson Cemetery. They represent a significant body of work that's probably been taking place over 3 years with input from the community via the Friends of Wilson Cemetery, so it's worth a look. I'm talking to Andrew yesterday, there will be some more publicity about that coming out, but good to see that we're actually better communicating with the community, but we're going from a policy into an actual fact sheet. I think that's a very good improvement in the way we put out information to the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. So do I have a mover? You were the mover there? You're happy to move, Councillor Hennessy? Do I have a seconder? You're happy to second, Councillor Solomon? Discussion, Councillor Solomon? No? Any further discussion? There be none. Councillor Hennessy, you're happy for me to put that motion? I'm going to put that motion. All in those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, and thank you very much to the governance team. Okay. We have the Community Grants Program on page 175. We're looking for members of the panel for the grant selection. I've been on this panel, I think, a couple of times. It's actually quite good. But looking for members, I'm happy to go on the panel, but I also don't want to take the spot from anyone. So let's put me on there anyway, and then should we get other members? Happy days.
Mayor, I also have been on it, and I concur with you that it's a particularly good experience going through all of these applications, but for the similar reason, I'm going to step back this year from that. But I do encourage my fellow elected members to consider this one. It's basically, I think, just the one meeting that occurs, but it's an important task.
Yeah, it is just the one meeting, and to concur with Councillor Hennessy is it's actually quite informative on where our community grants go to, even though we all know, but it's actually seeing the function of it and getting an in-depth walkthrough of the application and then the great community groups that put their hand up for it. So there's my sales pitch. Who's mine? Yes, go on. Councillor Lorna, you're happy to be?
Yeah, I was self-nominated, mate.
Yep, no worries. Councillor Davies, yes. I do note I am there. I'm happy to give my spot. Should anyone else? No. Yep. Okay. Well, I can see Councillor Solomon thinking. Can we do 4? Can we do 4 on the panel? Yeah, look, we're going to do a D and we're going to put Councillor Solomon if that's what you'd like. Yep. All right, so we have the 4 members. We happy with how that sits? Looking for a mover? You're happy to move that way, Councillor Hennessy? Looking for a seconder? Deputy Mayor White. Any discussion? There be none. I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, members. We're on page 186. And we have the Town of Gawler Annual Report. Anyone want to speak to this before we ask any questions at all, CEO, or take it as read? Okay. Questions? I've seen some emails from Councillor Hennessy about this particular document. Did you have any questions?
No, they were all met. Thank you very much. There's still a couple of proofreading errors which we will send through as well.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep.
It's just by nature of my training. So, but no, I think it's an excellent report. So I'm very happy to move the recommendation.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. You're happy to second?
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to second. Want to thank Donna and her team and all that were involved. Annual reports are big beasts, but I think this is a really good cross-section of all the work that we do as a council. And when I say we, our staff and volunteers, and it's an incredible organisation. I think we should all be very proud to be involved in it. So, yes, thank you very much to all who contributed, and that's all I have to say.
No worries. And those listening, we also have the Northern Adelaide Waste as well, and then also the Gawler River flood, so the annual reports there, but absolutely Town of Gawler document stand out, a bit biased. Do I have any further discussion? There be none. I just might add a couple of points with your indulgement. What I was finding about the Town of Gawler annual report and what I liked, and this is when I look at these documents, I always try to think of myself as the average punter that doesn't speak local government, and how it explains certain things. And I found it quite engaging especially when you're reading the volunteer hours that went through, all these things that, you know, I would hope that I would have been engaged prior to being an elected member, because it did take me on a bit of a journey. I think it was well laid out. I think it explained the items correctly, and I didn't think it used too much jargon throughout. I think it was a good, well laid out document. So thank you very much to staff and Donna especially for putting all this together. I know that there's a couple of, but obviously the drafts that we run through, and we'll tighten all that up. But I think overall, I think we can agree that it is a good annual report, format-wise, content-wise, and the like. So to that point, Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put that motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we have the general purpose finance statements on page 189. Any questions prior to looking for a mover?
Mayor, I'm going to suggest not to deride the importance of the next three reports, but because they're all considering financials, I'm wondering if we could move them en bloc, please.
Move them en bloc. That is possible to do. That's not to take away Erin sitting there in the gallery awaiting the debate. Do I have a seconder for moving these three reports en bloc? You're happy to second, Councillor Davies? Can we just get that updated on the screen? Oh. No, that's all right. Councillor Davies was the seconder on this one.
While we're doing that, if I perhaps may add some extra,
Yep.
I'd just like to reiterate how useful it is to get these detailed reports, but also to see the role of the audit and risk in their new form, really picking up and giving us, as equivalent of directors, quite certainly I feel that much more reassured that we have that process in place now where things are going through very clearly, going through a process where we can be reassured that, you know, things are moving along. For all of us, going through the fine details is quite time consuming, but knowing that others are looking as well is an excellent situation.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'll speak to 9.12. I attended my first Audit and Risk Committee meeting a couple of weeks ago as one of Council's reps, and it was really, really interesting. That was when the audited financial statements from last financial year were presented. So it was throw me in the deep end sort of thing. But I think just to sort of stretch a little bit what Councillor Hennessy was saying, we have some really fantastic independent members on there that are extremely passionate about this and have a wealth of knowledge and experience. So even for me, as a real newbie coming in and doing a lot of listening, I think they have a really good ability of translating the sort of, I guess, complicated financial language into a bit more language that can be understood. And our staff that are also present on that committee too are fantastic at that. So that's really echoed in this report. I look forward to continuing working with our Audit and Risk Committee. I think there is a lot more we can do with them, particularly around the risk side of things, as we've sort of discussed in some previous workshops and some more that we will be doing. Want to thank them for their time and efforts, and yeah, I think obviously a positive outcome regarding our financial position from last financial year, and I'm sure that will continue into this financial year.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Susie?
Sorry, just to clarify from the minute taker's perspective, if I may, Mr. Presiding Member, was it 3 items or 4?
No, it was
3.
items 9.12, 9.14 and 9.15. Where's 9.13?
9.13 did not pull into the contents page, but it is in the agenda.
So it's 4.
Okay.
Yeah, 12, 13, 14.
Thank you.
So not 15, Councillor Hennessy? No, you leave that out of the en bloc. So that's the first budget update. Yep, so it is around that finance topic, which your sentiment was grouping them together. With the utmost respect for the staff that put all these together. You'd like to speak, Councillor Davies?
Yeah.
As the seconder?
As the seconder, yeah. Just to say, well, in regards to moving on block, we obviously do read all these and take a great interest in them, which is why we spent the first 2 hours of this meeting having an in-depth conversation about rearranging of budget items, and it is very much appreciated, all the work that is done here.
Thank you. Councillor Lorna.
Thank you. Yeah, just reading through it all, we have a clean audit, and like the same in the audit committee, it's very transparent on that, which is good. So we have a clean audit, no fraud, no compliance breaches. That's really cool. That's awesome. A couple of things, the headline's showing that we've got an 885,000 surplus, yet the underlying position is still a 2.3 million deficit. Once you strip out the timing and accounting adjustments, so we're not out of the woods, we're still spending more than we earn. The big variances are coming from, what I can work out, is the grants coming higher than expected, which held the bottom line. Employee costs were down due to vacancies, but depreciation and joint venture losses were up. The Civic Centre, which is a concern, the income is still underperforming and the in-kind support is growing. The net finance liabilities are well within target and assets sustaining and strong, but the 5-year operating trend is negative, which is a bit of a warning light. And from earlier, from the gutters and that is a concern of mine and what's brought me to that. A few things that the audit committee's poured out is the selective asset indexation. That method needs to be formalised. Fix the capitalisation policy for design costs, and we have an abundance of leave balances that are obviously a risk to council. The bottom line is here that, yep, we can adopt the statement, note the underlying deficit and make sure management delivers on these fixes, which have been identified. We can't keep relying on grants and accounting tricks to look good on paper. I support the adoption, but we've just got to be clear. Our focus must be to tighten the operating position and cleaning up the admin gaps. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lorna. And certainly a lot of the sentiment is discussed on the audit and risk, but yeah, absolutely, we're certainly not out of the woods, for sure. Mr. CEO, did you want anything to add to that at all? Just, I think it's an important topic. I know we're on block, but it is an important topic.
Yeah, I just want to take a minute to reflect on some of the comments that came through the audit that the councillor just mentioned, and in furious agreement. The one that I'll just say, I think the auditors overplay is the leave balance one. Full transparency, I've got 2 staff members. I have 1 staff member who has 1,000 hours and one who has 800. They are the only 2 staff in the organisation that I'd categorise as excessive and need to be addressed. But I certainly don't have an overarching problem. But I am concerned about those 2. But I just want to share that with the group, that it's not across the organisation. We get reports every fortnight, and I continually ride my exec team and to make sure people take their leave. But the 1,000-hour one, the challenge I've got with that is getting them to take more than 4 weeks. It's going to take me a long time to get that down, but we'll manage that one. But in broad strokes, I'm comfortable with the trajectory of the organisation. Council was quite contract at that point in time. We had a large deficit. The financial assistance grants do distort the figures, and it makes it difficult for the general member of the public to get a clean understanding of how we're tracking. I just wish the government would be consistent year on year so that we can have some consistency in our reporting back to the community. But our focus from this point forward needs to be continuing to generate those underlying surpluses. Yeah.
Any further discussion on these items? Noting we have 4 about to go through potentially. If not, I'll just provide a bit of feedback on the audit and risk. I agree with the Deputy Mayor. I'm really heartened that you are enjoying your position there. And I'm liking the sentiment of the discussion, the way that it's going, because what you're picking up, Councillor Lorna, correctly, is about the superficial sort of accounting trickery I think you were using, and that was not a dig at our great staff member in there. It is about the timing and stuff, and what we do talk about, certainly at Audit and Risk, is superficial savings and underlying, like, actual savings as well. And those discussions I think we are having more broadly. And I do see the CEO communicating as well when we do see those superficial savings, that's actually put forward. It's like, hey, look, don't go spending money just yet. It is a superficial because of a timing, but certainly get the sentiment, and it sort of goes back to capital work rolling over into another financial year, which might produce a different outcome that looks more positive than it actually is, and actually making sure we identify that for the timing of it, while also providing those operational outside the box thinking, I guess, when we're looking at certain things. I think we've touched on a couple of them tonight, but yeah, certainly those conversations on the Audit and Risk have been quite good, but we still have some way to go more broadly, but the quality improvement focus is certainly there. But take the sentiment, we're certainly not out of the woods. We need to make sure that we lead into this next budget cycle with that information in hand, and see how we're going to run through that lessons learned from this financial year and the previous. But overall, I'm really liking the communication back and forth from staff and at the Audit and Risk, and then also even our information briefings as elected members. I think we can all agree that our conversation, in lack of a better term, has certainly matured over our journey together. And as we lead into our last budget cycle, it'll be an interesting one going forward. So to that, Councillor Hennessy, are you happy for me to put that motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, moving through. Now we're up to item 10. We have nil information reports. So recommendations from committee is on page 316. Sorry, just give me a sec, turn my pack. So, looking for a mover. You're happy to move that way, Councillor Davies? Do I have a seconder? You're happy to second, Councillor Solomon. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to draw the council's attention to the Youth Advisory Committee minutes, which are quite substantial and have several motions on notice, including some topics we've discussed earlier around issues with public transport in the town, requesting, for example, a meeting with the chair of the ACT, the mayor and the Minister for Transport to address these issues. So if you're interested, it might be worth actually watching the meeting on YouTube as well, because there's a lot that does happen in them.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Councillor Solomon?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Davies. I will have to watch the meeting back because I didn't get an opportunity to before this meeting, but certainly I think this is quite good. It's worth acknowledging and talking about the fact that we've had some motions from the ACT which have touched on a couple of subjects which they are passionate about and young people in our town are passionate about. I'll note the meeting with the Minister over particularly bus-related issues, transport issues generally, something that I did on the ACT as well. So I'm guilty of the same thing. So I think that to support that, and it's actually the objections from the council of the day to fixing the bus route or wanting to engage in that dialogue is actually part of what drove me to run, gave me the idea that I could actually run for council at some point. So, but I think, you know, we need to acknowledge the work that's gone into this from the members who are on the ACT, and that experience that they're bringing, particularly in regard to public transport, is important to be acknowledged and to be listened to. And while we might not have as many people catching public transport and buses in the town as we would like, there are reasons for that, and if we're talking to, if we're getting people with that lived experience in the room, then that's how we start to succeed in making sure that these things work. So I think that's good, and it ties in well with what we've talked about previously with our integrated transport strategy, etc. Not just trying to get people out of Gawler, actually trying to get people around our town and making it a livable place. So I applaud them on that one. Also on the subject of bins as well, I think that's another admirable one, doing something in that environment, waste management space. And it almost makes me think that maybe at some point, if the Act did want to get people from Norma in to grill them about that, then I think that would be a good step forward for them as well.
It's actually one of the suggestions I made on the meeting, I believe, that we were going to try to get Norma in for a briefing session with the Act. Yeah. Deputy Mayor?
This is a question completely off the fly, but through the chair. Do our committee members, such as the YAC and Heritage Collection Committee, RAP, etc., get invited to like our end of year volunteer Christmas function? Is that something that would be appropriate?
Yes.
They do? Brilliant. Cool. I think if council members are attending that and those committee members are, I think that's a good opportunity to catch up with, particularly some of those committees where there are large amounts of members like YAC. I think that would be great for those, just as a suggestion to everyone. But that's great to hear. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion? There be none. Councillor Davies, are you happy for me to put that motion? I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? That is carried. Councillor Hennessy, you didn't vote? Sorry, I'm going to put that. I'm going to put that motion. That is carried unanimously. No, that's okay. I thought you might have, someone might have got a division then, Alan. No, thank you. All right, we have external bodies reports. There are nil. Questions on notice, we have nil. Questions without notice, members. Any questions that you'd like to present? That is now nil. Motions on notice, nil. Any motions without notice, members? That is also nil. Council member attendance and activities. I saw some homework that Deputy Mayor sent through, which prompted me to send a list myself, actually. Any attendance that you'd like to note? I'll go last, that's fine. Anyone, Councillor Davies, you'd like to?
Just I guess to mention the success of the Hope Cup and the success of our mayor as a cricket player.
I feel like there was sarcasm, but I feel like I did all right.
So
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
I felt like you were saying the CEO could improve his game.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, good. No, I'm happy with that. Yep. No, perfect. Thank you, Councillor Davies. So, yes, the Hope Cup. Any other attendance you'd like to put on that list, Councillor Davies? No, you're happy with that? Anyone else? I can quickly rattle off my list if you like. I mean, so the Christmas, the Christmas card competition was definitely a highlight. That's something that Mayor Redmond started, and I was really honoured to continue on that legacy. I think we had over 500 applicants this year, which was massive. It is a great way to see the up-and-coming artists, but also engage with local schools and the like. Parents, grandparents, kids, I think everyone enjoyed their time. Minister Champion meeting, I think I touched on what we're talking about in those meetings, but just so you know, our 6-weekly one has happened this month. I'm glad that the minutes from the YAC got up because I already have now met with the chair anyway, just to plan a little bit of a potential game plan on what we're looking at to present, because it's one thing to go into a meeting with a minister and say that public transport isn't working. It's another to say it's not working, but hey, here's what we could do. So we're going to work through that. Hope Cup was lining up for my hat trick, so thanks for pointing that out. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done. I'm really glad to play with the CEO because he made me look fantastic. As the work is done. The Show Society was a good catch-up. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for setting up that meeting. It was good just to talk through the success of this year's show and just understand their visions moving forward. A quick meeting with the RSL sub-branch is always welcomed. I catch up with them quite regularly, but it was really good to have the Deputy Mayor and Labor candidate for Light, James Agnes, there, just to talk through what the RSL looks like moving forward, what their aspirations are and the like. And then on Saturday, I was able to stick some bin stickers on with James Agnes again, just in Edith Street, Blanche, Short Street. We have some of the old 50 speed limit stickers on the bins there that is now, it's 40, so we ran around, did that. Interview on Radio Italia with John DeFridi. He is an ex-councillor and speaks local government. This is a segment we have a chance that he rotates through 68 councils and whatever mayors will come into the show. It's just an opportunity to put Gawler on the map on radio and just make sure that we're talking about population growth and what opportunities are around. Attended our last Men Leading Change event, so I'm on the working group for that event that was, by all accords, quite successful on Saturday, regardless of the weather. Talking to Kim Wright, she was pretty happy with how it went, but yeah, the weather probably deterred a few in the early stages, but overall good conversations were had with the people that were there, and that's the whole idea of making sure that we are discussing these tough topics more broadly. On the Tuesday, I caught up with Thomas Docking, who is the CEO of Dads Group Australia. He was in the state, working with state government through advocacy around mental health outcomes and the like. It was good to be able to catch up with him in person. I've had a lot of different meetings with him over Teams, and Kim Wright will also help facilitate that, who we all know Kim Wright, an absolute superstar, and we'd be lost without her more broadly. Caught up with Gawler Central's Football Club and grounds president about the Essex Park Precinct Master Plan. I think it's no secret that we're looking through the Essex Park Master Plan and what that looks like moving forward, what tweaks we may make, what we want. So it was just about trying to talk through some options with them and try to understand where they're at. Trinity College Senior Valedictory Ceremony, I was actually rushing from that to here tonight. I was honoured to present some awards, and I would like to formally congratulate the Trinity College Year 12 students. It was a well-attended event. I didn't realise that many people fit in the Hewitson Theatre, but a very professional ran event and absolute superstars going through that school. We're lucky to have not only Trinity College, Xavier, Gawler High, we have those education pieces here that we do see students thrive, and it's only just the beginning for these students moving forward. That's my short and fast list of the last month. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I will be brief just because of the time, and I'll just pick out a couple. I've got them up there. But the Village Fair was at the start of the month, which was very well attended and very successful. Big congrats to the Rotary Clubs of Gawler and Gawler Light. Remembrance Day was held, and was fortunate enough to lay a wreath alongside the Mayor, and Councillor Hennessy, Davies and Solomon were there too. So it was, and Councillor Sample, thank you. One I did want to mention, I was very lucky enough I got to attend the awards ceremony for the 2026 Australian of the Year for South Australia. And I think we all should be very proud because Chloe White Jasper, who is a resident of Gawler, won South Australia's Young Australian of the Year for next year, which is a huge achievement for her. She does some incredible work advocating in the mental health space. So she is Young South Australian of the Year, and she'll be representing SA in Canberra on January 26th next year for the Australia Day Awards, which is very, very exciting for her. And for Gawler, I think we should be very proud. And the Hope Cup, of course, was fantastic. It was fantastic I was lucky enough to be able to commentate a couple of things, and it was quite entertaining watching our CEO get
bowled out for a duck. Sorry, Chris. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend on the weekend, but I did want to give a special shout out to the men's leading change event. Unfortunately, I was quite unwell over the weekend and missed out on that, but I heard it was successful. And just because Councillor Samble is absent tonight and we're all missing a little bit of his ramble, I'll just share one little thing with you, if you'll indulge me, that I unfortunately was laying in bed not well and got a text message from Brian that said, "Hello, this is Brian here. Just to let you know, I'll be there at the event this morning with the Mustang and that I support you and look forward to driving you around. Cheers, Sambo." So it sounds like I missed out on a great day. But all in all, congratulations to everyone who was involved in that very important event.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Hennessy?
Yeah, I've provided a list too. It's been a busy month. I just point out the first one, where I've been involved in showing people around the town, which has been my pleasure to do that. But it's an important part, of course, of our new economic development push, that we value the tourism that we can draw to the town with its heritage aspects. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Councillor Solomon?
Thank you, Mayor, and I should have sent through a list before. I can send through one afterwards. I apologise for that. I just want to talk about, yes, I attended the Gawler East Neighbourhood Watch 38th anniversary celebration here in the Civic Centre. It was also the 40th anniversary of Neighbourhood Watch in South Australia. And just to talk about some of the work that they do a really good job of keeping our community safe and doing and taking steps to assist crime prevention by informing residents how to be smart about their property and other things, and so and also lobbying council and state government on having upgrades and safety measures put in place over time. And they have quite an extensive record, which I won't mention tonight, but just to acknowledge that event which occurred. Of course, the Hope Cup, it's a pleasure to attend. It was something which had large involvement from all around the council table here. I note I was helping to organise the day. Deputy Mayor White was commentating. Nathan was playing, Chris was watching the birds or something. No, sorry, I apologise, no, Chris, no, and Chris was playing, and they should look at it. No, I don't want to, now that I've said that, I'll say something nice, but I think the contribution, the financial contribution that they were both able to get and to raise the money is really important to mention, that what Nathan and Chris were able to do there. Also the Mayor and the CEO. Also, just to point out, of course, Councillor Davies attending, but also helping to promote online the Hope Cup donuts, which were at the Gawler Hotbed Bakery, $2 of which from every sale went straight to the Hope Cup. And I believe the amount that was raised was somewhere north of $75,000. So that is a huge achievement, especially with a target of 50. So just to acknowledge the work of so many people around this table that went into that, and acknowledge the work of course, Riverside, of Gawler Police, of everyone who's really brought that together. I want to attended a Remembrance Day as well. I will make mention, while it wasn't an official event, I do want to put on the record, there was a catch-up which happened of young councillors, some Gen Z councillors, people who were elected, when they were elected, were under the age of 25. But we had a quick catch-up to talk about our experiences, and wanted to put on the record my appreciation for Senator Charlotte Walker for attending that meetup and having a conversation with us about what it means to be a young person in elected office, of course with our youngest woman ever elected to the Senate in Australia. The Rotary Club of Gawler Village Fair, I was there in another capacity, but I did go and talk to a few people about council-related things while I was there, in case there was any doubt in anyone's minds. I had an exceptionally good time. It was a great event, and I raised some money for a great local service. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Solomon. Any further?
Just very briefly,
Deputy
Mayor,
Mayor.
just two things. I just want to say thank you to Councillor Solomon because he said he helped organise the Hope Cup, but he was one of the key organisers in with the Salvos and did an amazing job. And second of all, I know Councillor Hughes won't say anything, but I know he was at the Village Fair. Fantastic photo on the front page of the Bunyip, Councillor Hughes. I look forward to seeing you and Councillor Solomon come to a council meeting in uniform one night, maybe.
No worries, thank you very much. If there be nothing else, we'll take that as, I can move it to accept the attendance. No, we're happy with that. Cool, no worries. Moving forward, we have a confidential report that has come across the table. So I'm going to ask for a mover to go into confidence. You're happy to move that way. Commercial in confidence, I think, would be a pretty safe bet for
Yes,
the reasoning behind that.
It is, in fact, sections, where are we? Oops, I lost it.
90.2, is it 90.3?
Is that 90 point, yes, and 90 subsection 2, section 90 subsection 3, A and B.
Yep, no worries at all. Thank you, Councillor Solomon. Do I have a seconder to go into confidence? Councillor Davies. Any further discussion? There be none. I'm going to put that to the chamber. That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And for those that are tuning in online, we are now in confidence. Have a great night. We'll close the meeting after this item.